Lawrence Master MC. Yo, this one. Black inquisitor general, torture a rapping dummy, wearing eyeshadow, piercing his tongue and tummy, piercing their lips and wearing gay earrings. King, one was bad, but now y'all are killing the king. Some rappers taking it, some giving it, king, just to have a whip in a mansion. They living it bling, living it artificial, acting like clones. When I hit you by text, I don't mean by phones. Morris squad bomb rappers on tracks like drones. Like casual, I didn't mean to put bats to your dome. Splitting numbskulls, washing pea brains, don't leave nails on fingers when I does it. Little chicken McNuggets, rapping meal toys. Got young guns clapping, leave your lip like steam back. Troy asking what's happened, like you didn't know or expect it. For talking that misleading trash on all your records. Matriarchy of the year, some say I'm a jerk. I rock towards truth, and the feelings got hurt. You rapping earlier words on microphone masters. Matriarchy of the year, some say I'm a jerk. I rock towards truth, and the feelings got hurt. You rapping earlier words, learn scripts, I clap you, cuz there's nothing you homo rappers do that surprise me. Rapping inquisitor make you eat poison ivy. Trimbago hot sauce all in your eyes for burning. For not teaching on mics that for lessons they learning. Rap black Nazis and you're not even German. Rather rap heads with t-shirts than Morris turbans. Turning hero logos to American eagles. Gold news rope chains. Only songs about cocaine. Cough syrup and liquor mix you white DJs. Still stacks of vinyl crates if we play. Don't believe anything or follow what cheats say. I study. Keep my album sides broken and some sides bloody. Burn rappers like crosses in front of your homes. Morris Ku Klux Klan stomping on lawn gnomes. Throwing hip-hop award bricks through rappers' windows. Most hip-hop songs are just commercial jingles. Matriarchy of the year, some say I'm a jerk. I rhyme too much truth and the feelings got hurt. You rapping earlier, birds on microphone masters. Matriarchy of the year, some say I'm a jerk. I rock too much truth and the feelings got hurt. You rapping earlier, birds learn scripts, I clap your cuz.
It's like full-blown war in the get the y'all, get it wrong, coming forth strong like the bit is on. Salute to the God Abaddon, who they know like iron sheet, giving out the knowledge in the stars and in the streets to the ones that seek. Just the meek when they hear it, truth I don't fear it. Turn up my speakers real loud so you can hear it. Don't be fooled by my appearance, I am clearing up the record. No, we ain't finished yet. Slaughterhouse for these dummy rappers who ain't been a threat. Dumping all your records to the curb and bringing back the classics. Jimmy J. Rue, that brass tag shit. Bumping MOP and that boot camp click. I'm crushing all you candy rappers. And yo, if seeing is believing, I ain't sure that none of you harder than my breakfast, tea and crackers.
Matriarchy of the year, some say I'm a jerk. I rock too much truth and the feelings got hurt. You rapping earlier, birds on microphone masters. Matriarchy of the year, some say I'm a jerk. I rock too much truth and the feelings got hurt. You rapping earlier, birds learn scripts, I clap because I went back off their way like I knew jewelry. Jewelers are carpenters and carvers, varnish finish. So you know the shine won't diminish. While rappers spending G's on gold that could be for fools. My chest glisten like the sun on fools. For my jewels, all on energy, pendant protection jewels. Enhance my life with spiritual tools. Opening chakras with crystals wrapped in copper. Using the force of quartz, put brakes on the copper. Microcrystalline jade, metamorphic rock pieces. Put a chain to diamond crusted Jesus headpieces. Obsidian and opal, leopard skin, jasper on a string. Tie your eye, green, formerly green. It looks like the stuff essence when I bring it. Change negative to positive like colors on the moon ring. No gold, I hold black beads, no ice. I'm looking like Africa, Bam, X-Clan, and Just Ice. Rapid varnish pendant, Moorish mug chest, filled with crystal stones, Merlin treasure chest, clearing my aura as I come before you. Rappers see me with no nice and think I'm a pauper. Rob the rapper of his Gucci link independent self-portrait. Pawn souls to the devil once they make themselves corporate. New jewelry gets attention like passing next morning. Keep new jewelry as wood, no matter what you call it. Operation Rapper Inquisition, moving through the fakeness, hip-hop matrix vision. Back again, in these bars, this is my prison. Walls of these pages with pen shanks I'm scribbling. No visits, lines on paper, concrete walls. My margin is my showers and my washroom stalls. End of the page is when I make parole. Force me to execute rappers, then throw me in the hole. So much so, the MC, not confined. The elements of hip-hop today are not combined. Almost seeing the other side, gotta stay focused. Just gotta let that phone ring and don't lose focus. They can't try to hocus pocus. Send rapping jokers with handbags, Gucci purses and chokers. Jeans, wrestling, spandex type. Turning youths to robots. If you drink a Sprite, that's not what I say, that's what they do. Use rappers to sell you sneakers and Mountain Dew. Flowing like a fountain dew. When you turn the lever, send the ball for conscious MCs and rapping believers. Trapped with me in these bars, rappers begging for seizures. Hanging rappers with the strongest lines, squirm like leeches. Sentenced to the underground, no one hears your screams. Left after the laugh for these black and yellow dreams. What happened to the MCs? Ask yourself. What happened to the DJ? Ask yourself. What happened to the rapper? Ask yourself. What happened to the dancer? Ask yourself the question. Ask yourself the question. Ask yourself the question. Ask yourself the question. Ask yourself.
Check it. Let's open the book of hip hop and make advances. My supreme knowledge of alchemical sciences only enhances my ability to drop metaphysical answers. When asked about the MC, the DJ, the graph for the dancers, earth, air, fire, water, all being born in hip hop. Study hard to get that. Forget rap, cause it's not. The transformation from land to go from man to God can be achieved through hip hop. Cause it's art, the planet's art. The colors and tones and archetypes will spark the light. Give your third eye, a bird's eye, restore the loss of sight. You already lost the fight whenever I come across the mic, because you're dealing with God and you can never exhaust the light. We're making the shift from hip hop to God house, the return of the ancient ones, and we coming non-stop. So when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So I'm here, straight from the boogie down, so have no fear.
What happened to the MCs? Ask yourself. What happened to the DJ? Ask yourself. What happened to the rapper? Ask yourself. What happened to the dancer? Ask yourself the question. Ask yourself the question. Ask yourself the question. Ask yourself the question. Ask yourself. It's only in the underground, unseen but heard. All of those words and metaphoric slurs, riding on the smooth and savage beat tones. Paparazzi taking pictures, talking on the phone. Pictures tell 1,000 words. When drivers on camera, breathing or sleeping while driving on camera. You might even be hammered. It's not even lunch yet. Didn't have breakfast, clock not even punch yet. Send that to the news and post on YouTube. Hit some people get are in the thousands of you. Charge $1, make $1 million. Set up a website and PayPal, make a killing. Right, psych, that's all just hype. I'm on the streets bringing youth from darkness to light. I'm in their courts, not playing ball but schooling and crossover thoughts. It's not training camp like a tour of sports. Season's been started. Sands don't shoot shadow targets. Got them thinking it's the shoes when they're the market. Got them thinking it's the booze and blunts you smoke. Got them thinking magazine monthly hip-hop quotes. I'm the best line, they can't test time. Rappers get awards for MC best albums and best rhymes. I was the brush carrier with fades and waves. Didn't know that hairstyle was from the ancient days. Me doing the work for the Amazon matriarchal. Rapping hip-hop today is so patriarchal. Female MCs on the mic, I probably know 6. The game is like church and demigods, no woman on pulpits. We have to say what we must sow some seeds so we can grow strong trees with the bedsheet leaves. Deadbeat seas, modes navigate with flows. I flow on papyrus beat boats as I write these scrolls. Bringing back the hip-hop's constitutional fold. Even mics can't escape, catch a bruise when I hold. My paper trails leave them. Soother on a hole. Apply more science, never get fooled on a flow. Kush and pang, not the kush when you see I blow. Flow for right years when my 3 eyes glow. And head and rapper inquisition. Pen mighty and the swords not even on inky missing. What happened to the MCs? Ask yourself. What happened to the DJ? Ask yourself. What happened to the rapper? Ask yourself. What happened to the dancer? Ask yourself the question. Ask yourself the question. Ask yourself the question. Ask yourself the question. Ask yourself. To the yellow journalists, I want to write the facts for World Web press stories, always calling them black. Civil rights violated here on C1-7, and CIA and FBI agents, resident felons with one ring dog on one turn. Wars on nerds and 30 more than if I'm on the road, nobody's curb. No sense of lucid, or fighting for survival. Making wars models won't happen, calling us captain rival. Inquisition is governors and secretaries of state got stateless on their tables like ribeye steak. With no care, blood dripping. They eat black thread. Foreigners wearing six-point badges, pretending they're heirs to the vastness of state living in Malaxa. Stainless blood so fast the horses flower service agua. Demons thirst sweat, stealing fire mills and organs. Psychiatry, death industry. The stars selling black orphans. And half those coffins. Cause legs are missing, killing stateless people. Cancer won't even see remission. More lives matter. Like black lives don't matter. 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 System, what system? Not gonna make myself no victim. Run down and kick them up, educate oneself and flip them. All of these titles or nationality strips them. Must treat reality in order to really grip them in this third dimensional illusion. Organized chaos confusion, stealing your attention. Mental intrusion, universal law, declaration of the ancient. I self-law and master from the rooftops to the basement. Root beach to the spaceship, ever since all creation. Celestial foundation, ocean floor to the ranges, to the mountain tip, to the cosmic infinite. Basically, we are way above the shit. In other words, get in tune with spirit. Take a breath and accept mental polarity, gender rhythm, correspondence, vibration, cause and effect. More lives matter. Like black lives don't matter. 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 More lives matter because I'm thinking on sound up. It gets affected when protected from the nasty off. Get my perspective on the record to replay. On the news that I'm replay. So they want to catch up. Hurry them on to the next one. No for them on running down. You them a cat cross. Can't believe what's something that can't believe what's hard. Trayvon, Michael Brown, Dr. Russell back off. The afterlife visited the class sprawl. Who they really want to see with the crown on high and the guards on free? I am free and nothing is what your land or your country to see. Three inalienable rights. The insatiable delight of knowing thyself and bringing all injustice to light. What the fight is your claim, make your fight for the bright. I'm the mic in the night. More time for you to realize that. More lives matter. Black lives don't matter. More lives matter. Like black lives don't matter. More lives matter. Like black lives don't matter. More lives matter. Like black lives don't matter. No. Our problem is lack of knowledge and the intended deceit and trickery done. Because even those who read the biblical healing techniques, you call the Bible to teach your food even the most elite. So even those who think they're highly educated and things like that, they've been fooled. That's it. It's not really complicated. It's the miseducation of the Negro. Everybody knows, but those who need to know, it's the miseducation of the Negro. When we rise from the day they call us Pharaoh, it's the miseducation of the Negro.
Everybody knows except those who need to know. It's the miseducation of the Negro. Moving right from the day they call us pharaohs. The gods are back, the more the strap. We waking up, and we want our land back. Running off, that's the trap. You know them guys don't like that. Waking up from a nap, like where the hell my crown at? Take a step back, like I know this bitch ain't fight back. It's kinda crazy how the karma strikes back. We enslaved the Islam, so they slaved us right back. We called them niggas, shit ain't nigga the right back. We brought them to life, but they ain't bring that right back. If I was lazy, dirty, dancing with the baby, then maybe then just maybe won't revolt like Haiti. I too sport low, but pour them off this garbage your ass. No, but you your arm leading God body the man. No, I ain't gotta be bad, and you ain't gotta be mad, but the planet is heating up. So the first I'll be last. I got that melanin, that's better than anything you ever medicine. We at the front door, wonder why you never let us in. Oh, I get it, you never wanted to put some credits in. Well, just forget it, cause I don't know if you kinetic sin. We've been enlightened long before common medicine. Skeletons to prove that you wasn't even relevant. Because the sun was your deficit. Captain Caveman was the plan of the Jesuits. Check my bloodline, but it's time I bring the evidence. Self-governing body, so I don't need no president. Democrat, Republican, donkey versus elephant. I studied it all, so I ain't down with none of that. I self-law and math, so I'm running that. This Molotov controversy fast, so I like the neck. Despite the fact that ain't even what I'm mad at. I fit the two, here's the roof so you can hear that. My skin is brown and here's the proof, but you ain't hearing that. Dead in the eyes of the law, that's why they called you black. Naming all cats when you fall, that's why I strike back. And strike back from the record ab initio. You gon' need more than some pressure, I got a bitch to go. I can take the road to the high, or I can hit them low. Try to calcify my third eye, you gon' have to go. Chemtrails all over the sky, and you don't wanna know. Don't go on the side of my stride, they coming no more. If you believe that your history started on a sleep, I can guarantee you that's where it ended too. That's what I'm saying. Then after saying that, we can go back and do some studies past the 1700s, and I'll guarantee you, sure, you're sitting there listening, or wherever you are, watching, listening, you will find nothing but the word more, and that's me. Because we work on black. The description, maybe, blackamoor or whatever, but that's it. Know the difference between a description and an actual, person, place, or thing noun. I mean, it's the miseducation of the Negro. Everybody knows it, just those who need to know. It's the miseducation of the Negro. We rise from the day they call us pharaoh. It's the miseducation of the Negro. Everybody knows it, just those who need to know. It's the miseducation of the Negro. We rise from the day they call us pharaoh. From the pyramids to the project, the beginning is the part they want you to forget. Implant your memory with that noose around your neck. It's the king out for planning and set in full effect. The butler, the help, and 12 years the slave. Django or Selma, they get your accolades. They made a movie called Exodus about the God the king with an all-white cast from Egypt. Now that's the stage. You ain't never seen no movie about no European slaves. We were traveling the seas when they was living in caves. We had to civilize and show them how to behave. In fact, we brought them light and taught them how to bathe. Trading places with stolen identity. We agreed to be educated by our own enemy. Reverse psychology, I'ma need a lobotomy. My messages investigation shit about me. Ross Mariah, Anna Eve, Miss Marine, Costa Rica. Cujo from Canaanland, listen to them speak. I done learned from the best. I don't need no DNA test. The nations in my womb has given from the breath. The empire's back, so you know what's next. The walls are waking up, now you must guns back. Yeah, yeah. The walls are waking up, now you must guns back. Birthright theft. The whole deal was, where's my land that for them? The whole deal was that this is really quote unquote promised land. This is really the quote unquote heart of civilization. This is really what you might call Northwest Africa. And I say this to people so they can stop saying I'm going back to Africa and understand that they're in it. It's the Garden of Eden. That's what they had in Columbus's journal when they arrived. Absolutely. So what has happened is absolute lies. And the land of milk and honey is another terminology. So these things are important because as you're doing studies, and if it says the land of milk and honey, you need to know they're talking about the North American continent. You don't know that, and you miss it. And that's part of our problem. That part of our problem is the miseducation. We have been lied to, lied to, lied to, lied to, lied to, lied to.
Peace and love, Moors. Peace and love to everybody that's listening. Do appreciate you. We do appreciate you. I am Ms. Raheem. I left L. You are tuned into MHHS Eyes Wide Open, Sons of Allah. The first one for the 2020 time block. And I am also here with Grand Chief, my brethren, Cujo Awo L. Peace, Noble.
Peace and love, more Islam. What's going on with you?
All is well, man. And that's the mentality. That's definitely the mentality. I'm here with you, man. I know this is, man, I don't even know how to get started with this one.
Well,
I say first and foremost.
Let me put this out quickly. Let me put this out quick fast too, that we're also streaming live on Canaanland Moore's YouTube as well right now. So Islam to all the Moors in the chat, and Islam to all the Moors who are going to be seeing this if they're not able to be here live.
Word, big facts. We're going to have to do one soon, live for sure. Salute to everybody who's tuned in through the streaming. But I gotta learn this technology a little bit more, and I'll definitely do one with you live on a face-to-face joint.
Islam.
But yo, Islam. So salute to all of you all listening via all platforms, etc., and those who are listening in the future. Okay, so first and foremost, today's topic. I know we're gonna touch on a lot of different things as far as what we're gonna go in on, but I just want you, to give a little background about how, this ended up being the topic for tonight, at least for starters, which is, did Noble Drew Ali teach matriarch or patriarch? Now, before we go in, I do want you to explain from what has been being said, how we was like, okay, then yeah, let's touch on this topic. But before anything, I just want to say he taught balance. He taught both. To give props where it's due, I want to say that, he spoke about in the Circle 7 that the Moabites, who was traveling from the land of Canaan, etc., had got permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to inhabit the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa, and that the founders of that Moroccan empire extended even on to the present day North, South, and Central America, right? So here we are today, and he said that they did this before the Great Earthquake. So we talking years before the map that we looking at today, right? So that's how old he's speaking about. But I do want to make acknowledgement when it comes to the matriarch. All the pharaohs of Kemet or Egypt were women, right? My mother shared this with me a couple of weeks ago. I believe somebody shared it with her. The evidence is there. You know what I'm saying? Noble Drew Ali was an Egyptian adept student as well. So I don't believe he could have been an Egyptian adept student and not have known that. I want to say, first and foremost, on this subject of did he teach matriarch or patriarch, again, to my point of he taught the balance between the two is that first and foremost, he said, come all ye Asiatics and hear the truth about your nationality and birthrights. That is a very big fact. That's what he said, come hear the truth about your nationality and your birthrights. So birthrights and birth comes through the mother. He couldn't have been teaching about birthrights without teaching you about your essence as a human being or as a Moorish American, Asiatic, etc. There's no way he could have correlated your birthrights without correlating your birth. So off top, I just want to say, yeah, he had to be teaching about the matriarch. I don't, I know in nature it's a balance, because like it says, all the women who were pharaohs in Kemet were every pharaoh, all the ancient pharaohs were women in Kemet, or so-called Egypt, but all of their sons were master masons. And I say that in the sense of they were operative builders, and you have your famous pyramids or the Great Seal of the Moorish nation as your evidence or reminder of that. So we was great too, but we just built things, you know what I'm saying? They basically was doing a thing in the place as in the sense of refuge. And it's not that they couldn't build or things like that, but that was the balance, you know what I'm saying? Off top. It had to be, you know, so it had to be. So the sons or the men and the brothers, we built, and they just did what they do. They gave permission. As far back as I can remember, you couldn't go cross town without permission from your mama. You had to be in the house before dark, you know what I'm saying? At the decree of your mom, you know what I mean? The permission usually comes from there. And I'm not saying that there's not successful co-parenting situations. I'm not saying that, you know what I mean? But, you know, permission usually comes at the mother's will. So I say that because, you know, the balance between the two, it's not like one is inferior, you know. But before I get into all of that, I just want to say that, but I want you to explain, brethren, like what was being said, what was going on for the topic of, you know, of why we even got to talk about the Noble Drew Ali teach patriarch or matriarch. What was said that you was like, yo, let's address this?
Islam. You hearing me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you clear, bro.
All right, good. So yeah, maybe few weeks ago, one of the mothers contacted me because they got hold of this book by a priestess by the name of Mama Zogbe. And the book is entitled The Sibyls, the First Prophetess of Mamiwata, The Theft of African Prophecy by the Catholic Church. Now, one of the reasons why the book came up is because there was the mother was doing some research and she bumped into a Natural Tahuti video where he was talking about the book. So she got the book or whatever, she read the book, and basically the book was revealing, you know, the same thing that you're talking about, the female pharaohs and the whole fact that women pretty much ruled everything, and destroying the matriarchal ideal is what led to the BS that we're going through right now. Ultimately, just to summarize the book. So they had things in there. For example, they had the coat of arms. I know if you have the coat of arms, the Nature Knows No Color line, where J.A. Rogers has the coat of arms in there. And then there were some of the coat of arms that had women on them, you know, and then there were some of the coat of arms that had women with serpents on them and stuff like that. And she's explaining to the book that, you know, even in the Moorish culture, you know, the power was the women, because they were the ones who ruled the elements and they were the ones who had power over nature, and you know, they always depicted them.
Peace, more.
Yeah, peace.
I don't want to cut your wisdom at all, but I wanted to say, even in those coat of arms you was mentioning in J.A. Rogers, he made note to say that there's no way they could be depicted as inferior, and like their heads was there as inferior because crowns are for nobility.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So when you see these dark-skinned women with crowns, that's not depicting no slave.
Right.
it's not depicting a slave or inferior person.
That's
So
it.
yeah, for sure.
Right.
I don't want to cut your wisdom,
no
but
worries.
I did want to make note of that.
No worries, man. No worries. So with that, so then a few other mothers, you know, from this mother got the book, and it's been a very inspiring, uplifting piece of literature, you know, because it's a mother, you know, same thing that we talk about with MHHS and RV Bay, and that, you know, it has to be mother who's doing this work of teaching people, right? Just like you were saying earlier, the sons are the builders. We're going to get stuff done. You know, this is why, again, when you do the research and you get into knowledge, they always have knowledge or wisdom personified as a woman. Ask the Greeks, who said that wisdom is Sophia. So the whole concept of knowledge and thinking and brain activity and all those things are relative to the feminine principle, right? So so the woman been inspired by this book or whatever. So they were on whether it was Facebook or something like that, you know, and they're putting out some of this information they're finding in this book. And we're not talking about Negroes or whatever. Moors are coming at them, you know, for putting out this information as if Noble Drew Ali didn't teach matriarchy, you know, like shutting the mothers down on a level. So I made I used the 101 cover, and I did some short videos just acknowledging that, well, yo, you can't get mad at the mother for waking up. Not because, you know, you Moors are insecure means that, you know, you're gonna try to shut her down or whatever. And then Moors are bringing up, you know, Act 7 and husband, wife must obey their husband and all this type of stuff, playing this whole, you know, patriarchy is how I look at it. You know what I mean? Playing some patriarch position, like, you know, woman came from men or something like that type of idea. So once I did the couple videos, the comments in the videos were, you know, absolutely ludicrous with regard to this fear that I get from the male perspective about the female coming into their rightful place or recognizing the truth about themselves. So another one of the examples that they had in the book is that they had a picture of one of the pharaoh, one of the ancient Kemetic god Sekhmet, and then they had her standing there with her hand over the heart. Same thing like Noble Drew Ali's doing. Now, I personally haven't seen any images like that from ancient Egypt with men doing that, right? So, like you're saying, using my common sense, well, damn, if Noble Drew Ali is doing that, he obviously got that from, because he's an ancient Egyptian adept. And if he's ancient Egyptian adept, then he knows that all the pharaohs are female. And if he's ancient Egyptian adept, then he knows that the pharaohs who gave the Moabites permission to come over here and inhabit this side of the world or whatever had to be female, because there ain't no male pharaohs, which is why when you go check all those pharaoh relics, all of them got makeup on. And then you have men claiming that they're ancient Kemetic whatever, and then they're putting on makeup as if that's some masculine stuff that they used to do in ancient Kemet or whatever. You know? So, right? Because when you check the stuff, you see that, you know, they wear the eyeshadow and stuff like that, and then they got the line by the eye and all that stuff. That's, you know, that's makeup.
But again, you have these masculine individuals who are going to claim that they're the pharaohs, and then they're going to go put makeup on and try to justify their masculinity to me. You know what I mean? So with all the different comments and stuff like that, and you know, my computer being down and me not really being able to go on, I figured, well, the next time we go on, because actually we're going to do it today, before Sons of Allah, me and Brother Yusuf we're gonna get on and do something. But situations happened that didn't manifest, so you know, we said, okay, you know, as opposed to that, we'll just wait and we'll have our discussion with regard to this whole ideal. And again, like you're saying, getting Moors, mainly this is for the Moors that are on the masculine side, to get out of this fear of women ruling, like the women who we know are Moors don't have their mind right or something, and they're gonna be taking some type of position like put men under them or something like that when they get back on top, or when they, you know, jump out of Noble Drew Ali's arms because they're conscious now. Because the attitude that I'm getting from these people is that, you know, well, when she gets on top, and then they start going off on their tirade as if, you know, she's going to be taking advantage of her position if she has her mind right, which again shows the lack of trust, the lack of, you know, faith that they have in women realizing her true position, being mother. And I don't know even a crackhead mother, you know, take care of her sons. Some type of level. They're not gonna, you know, go off and sell the baby the first time that they whatever. You know what I mean? They're gonna do everything that they can to protect their sons or their daughters, because that's just what mothers do. You know, animal kingdom, same thing. Mom's gonna protect the cubs. That's just what it is. And you know, a lot of the frustration is coming from mothers that I deal with, that they're starting to present this information about them knowing who they are and whatever, and they're really getting shut down by Moors. Like Moors are really shutting them down. Like, nah, you know, Act 7, you have to obey your husband and all this BS. You know, when Noble Drew Ali told these Moors, give back the patriarchy, give back Christianity. You're not European. There's only European males that speak from that type of perspective of own their wife or whatever like that, and not show supreme balance. Only. I don't know successful or prominent cultures that use women as a footstool and get somewhere. It doesn't work like that. Your stuff, the fact that you're using her as a doormat, your stuff is already done. Because whether it's a daughter, whether it's a wife, whether it's a sister, whether it's an aunt, whether whatever, that's still mother. I don't care if she's 2 years old or if she's 100 years old, that's still mother. I don't care if she doesn't have children, that's still mother. And she should get that level of respect, admiration, appreciation, and man has to humble that insecure part of the being that has been trained by the patriarchy to think that, you know, all we have to do is do the manly stuff or whatever like that. And like one of the things that came up was, like, I used the example, for example, of myself, that even though I came up in a 2-parent household, like I'm a mama's boy. Mom looks out for her son, her only son, looks out more than she might look out for her daughter, to be honest with you. Because why? She already knows that her daughter, as a woman, she's a mother. Ain't nothing to look out for. The son is the degenerate who needs to be nurtured and cultivated and all that stuff. Daughter has it in her already. That's why daughter could leave the house early. And son staying there, 50 years old, son still in the house. You know, if I know daughter in the house still, 40, 50 years old, still living with mom. So as the information is gonna start flooding, I don't know any personally, you know what I mean? Every sister who I know, they weren't in no house until 18 or whatever. They were out the house like 15, 16, they were out the house. And not because they were loose or whatever like that, but, you know, they didn't have to be there.
You know what I mean? It is what it is.
It is what it is. Nothing personal.
I mean, you know, I know some brothers is motivated, but I think this is the funniest thing ever, bro. Like, I personally, because we talking about women and moving out the house and balance and shit like that. Like, hey, yo, man, look, as we speaking right now, I don't want to cut your wisdom.
Oh no, go ahead,
you're
boy.
speaking the truth.
It's all good.
But to give an example, this shit is funny, bro. Right? Like, okay, so let's keep in mind right now as we speaking, you know, they just made some resolutions at the so-called Royal Palace in Europe, but that's because, you know, all right, first off, let's just say this. Meghan Markle, right? As we speaking about women and matriarch, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not trying to put the light-skinned woman on the pedestal or none of that. I swear that's not my intention. Real talk. But look, right? We could get lost in skin complexion because her mom is a Moor, right. Apparently. Anyway, yeah. Right? Okay. All right. So let's keep this in perspective, right? So she gets married to a lineal descendant of a Moor, gets married to a so-called royal of Europe, caused turmoil in Buckingham or wherever they at. She was like, look, man, the papers are slandering them, slandering her, whatever. She's like, yo, I'm out. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to move to Canada. Yo, real talk. Yo, and on the tune of you saying women get out the house faster. This is an example right now. And the power of him getting into the original God body, right? And being reborn in the sense of having intercourse with her or whatnot. He's like, yo, that's what's going to get me out the royal palace. I'm going to Canada too. Facts. So, you know what I'm saying? As far as that, I'm not saying that's the right way to go, but it's a funny current example, bro. Like, she's tired of being there. It's like, yo, we moving to Canada. And he's like, I'm going too. Left the royal palace and everything. Got out the house. All of this stuff. Forget the conflict of interest that royals can't live in so-called Canaanland. But, yo, I'm just saying, it speaks a lot whenever the woman could get a man out of a royal palace or vice versa, whatever. I just really think that speaks a lot. Y'all could think I'm tripping, but for her to go in there and break so many quote unquote royal protocols, you know what I'm saying, and then, you know, come back in the sense of, look, man, I'm gonna be me. I can't do this royal thing. I'm moving to Canaanland, like, you know what I'm saying? Yep. We out. You know what I mean? Yep. And he's like, yo, I'm leaving the palace too. That speaks a lot about the influence of women on so-called royals or those who assume those positions. Yeah. Real talk. I'm sorry. I hope my analysis connect, but I just see it as that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, damn. But that's crazy.
And then the other side of it too is that he'd been wanting to get out since they killed his mom.
who again was a matriarch, because she was humanity personified in a being. Anybody who grew up around the time of Princess Diana or whatever, they know that if she got the throne, she was about to destroy that whole stuff and give everybody back their stuff. She was upset with the royal family and all that, which is why she even went outside of the family, whatever, and go married some Arab or whatever. She didn't go with the protocol. Why do you think he did that? Because he's following after his mom. Doing exactly what his mom did. Why? Because that's where the power is. Because everybody knows that the queen's great-grandma is a Moor. It's not a secret. It's only a secret to people who don't study. When the Duchess of whoever wore her blackamoor brooch and everybody's mad talking about racism and all this stuff. It was a woman that did that. And remember, we're talking about some Europeans or whatever. We're not even talking about Asiatics, really.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. Not yet. Right? You know? And it's even when you go to the literature, right? And you get into obedience of children toward their father. Nojali told these Moors, told them, let man learn wisdom, because that's the secrets of Allah. The secrets of Allah is wisdom. Remember, wisdom is Sophia. Remember, wisdom's feminine. Wisdom's not masculine. So the Egyptian adept is telling these Moors in the Moorish Science Temple, Moorish Divine and National Movement, Moorish Holy Temple of Science, Moorish Nation, whatever they're claiming, he's telling them in their own literature that they're going to hold up every Sunday school and talk about, open the meetings according to Circle 7 and all that stuff, and these people aren't honoring women. When Noble Drew Ali said, learn her, and not only did he say learn her, all the chapters prior to the obedience of children to their mother are all about women. How to deal with women. How not to get enchanted by her allurements, because, you're going to see the ass and get caught up, think this is about asses. Don't get caught up in the allurements.
Facts. I was just reading that lesson today. I said, damn, the prophet was the truth.
The truth, bro.
He was giving brothers and sisters game.
Game.
You know what I'm saying?
Game to get the stuff right. Game to get the stuff right. Game to bring back again this whole concept of universal balance. Because the universal balance isn't man and woman on some equal tiers of whatever. No, the universal balance is know your role. You have fallen ovaries and breasts that don't work. Know your role. We'll tell you again that when you have the eureka moment, when you actually realize that on the 101 questionnaire, humanity is written on this sister that Noble Drew Ali is holding. And then anytime you hear humanity,
first thing that should come to your mind is uplifting fallen humanity. If you're a Moor and you're just chilling somewhere and then humanity just comes up, first thing that should be coming to your mind is uplifting fallen humanity. And if humanity is specifically, humanity wasn't written even on Drew Ali. Humanity wasn't even written on the crescent and star that's in the sky shining down on Noble Drew Ali carrying humanity. And when he said uplifting fallen humanity, and you realize, holy shit, humanity is written on the mother, you're supposed to have the mind explosion thing or whatever. And then you start realizing what this is about honoring, what this is about upholding, what this is about defending. And then you think when people were talking crazy, about Rosmaria Bay and Annie Edel and Yafa Bay and whoever other mothers that were out there putting this truth out, and these patriarchs getting in their feelings or whatever like that, and they start throwing shots at mother and calling them whatever they call them. You think that we're putting out all these videos defending RV Bay publications and teachings that we get from there and all that because of some We Know RV Bay publication? No, that's because they're disrespecting mother. What are you talking about? They're disrespecting mother. And like we've said it on the record, right? Like me and Mizraim having this platform, right? We're having this platform. We said we're going to have this platform. We had to go to mother to have this platform. We didn't just do this because we felt like doing some classes for Moors to call it Sons of Allah because it's a cool name. We got sanctioned to do this by mother. This is not our stuff that we're doing. We're doing this because she said, yeah, you got to do that. Sure, yeah, you could even use this platform. There's the number, there's all the login stuff, do whatever it is you have to do.
Yeah.
We got the authority from mother. We didn't just do it because we wanted to do it.
Right.
So it wasn't a defending some RV Bay publications. It's about the principle that's mother. That's the That's the foundation of this whole concept when people are actually using the terminology correct your status and proclamations and stuff like that. If you hear people talking like that and it's not coming from Canaanland Moors, MHHS, anybody affiliated, know that those people took that from here. Anybody talking about some status correction, whatever. Anybody talking about blog talk shows and people calling in and being able to put their information out there and actually get, all that is because of this.
Yeah.
And again, because who else is going to do it but mother? It only makes sense. It only makes sense that mothers are talking up right now. Because some of these mothers realize, hold on a second, these guys are what do you mean? What do you mean all the pharaohs were women? The hell are you talking about? All the pharaohs were women? How come nobody ever told me this before?
Yeah, or the Pirates, the original Pyro.
Right? What do you mean that the broken circle is the womb and the 7 is the Moor in the womb? Right.
And hold on, while you're speaking about the 7,
go ahead, Mark.
Let's keep in mind that 7 is Libra. Yeah, my fault. Let's keep in mind that the 7 is Libra, which is also represented in the zodiac as a woman blindfolded. You know what I'm saying, and holding the scales. So, whenever you're talking about 7, you're already on God, which is also a feminine principle. There's no way. You know what I mean? In natural law, you can't separate her. In natural law, no matter what anything written says, natural law says that's the law. So, yeah,
Right. And again,
yeah,
we're not.
Listen, but when you mention it,
No, go ahead, Mark.
No, go ahead, Mark.
No, I was just saying that yeah, I agree.
Okay, good.
We're just saying that, we're not speaking from some perspective of we're not males or we're soft or we wouldn't kick somebody's ass or whatever. Like it's the principle. You don't get mad. Nothing to get mad about. Again, your testicles are falling ovaries. Shut the hell up. The hell do you mean? Why? Why on God is the creator of all things beautiful and amazing and all that stuff. Creator of that. How come he made us or she made us or it made us or whatever you want to say? How come we're made with nipples and they don't work? Can't breastfeed nothing.
Right.
And then these guys
it wasn't our ordained role in nature.
That's just what it is. Nothing personal.
It definitely was not our role.
Nothing personal. Yeah. That's just what it is. Just accept the reality that that's what it is. I don't care how much you go to the gym and then you wanna do bench press so you can look like you have breasts again. And then tell me about some masculine whatever. Why you on breasts again? Why you even doing that? You think that's about muscle or whatever? Digest what I'm telling you. The people who go to the gym and work out or whatever, and they could do the thing where they make the breasts move and all that stuff. And they're going to go in competition and flexing and all that stuff.
Making their titties jump.
Like what? You tell me.
Yeah.
You tell me these people are freaks or whatever?
Wow.
Yo, come on now. Because I'm only common sense or whatever. That's all. Right? And I'm not saying ain't nothing wrong with going to working out and getting in the gym and all that stuff. But I'm just saying, you know what I mean? It's like no different than we see the preacher or we see the imam or we see jalabia or whatever. You think that's not a dress? Like, that's a dress. Why? Because that's where the power is. Not about cross-dressing or somebody's homo or whatever. That's the energy. That's the frequency.
Right.
That's just what it is. Don't get mad. It's cool. Like, that's just what it is. Accept the reality so we can get some shit done. Stop fighting it. Why are you fighting it? Everything you go put something in, the thing went in is a womb. Anything that comes out of something, the thing that whatever came out of is a womb. That's just what it is. Don't get mad. And wombs are predominantly feminine. There are not too many masculine wombs, if any. Breasts, lactating, that's only feminine stuff. That's not masculine whatsoever. But those are some of the most powerful positions on the planet. It doesn't matter which body of living entities you're dealing with. Insects, animals, plants, whatever. Like all of them have a feminine component that is the backbone of their existence. And they don't play around with violating the mother. They do what mother says and stuff gets done. There'll be one mother and 500,000 sons. One mother, 500,000 sons. Every son's job is don't violate mother, protect mother, defend mother, and mother give you anything you want. And then they do that, and everything is good. You even seen in because everybody got social media and could upload whatever. You even see people posting little comedy videos or whatever of animals having human reactions. And then you'll see, you know, a cat or whatever, two cats chilling. And then another cat comes from nowhere and just standing there looking. And then one cat sees that cat and takes off. And then the other cat sees that cat and then he's just sitting there like a dumbass. Because mother caught him with another cat fooling around in the alleyway. And somebody videotaped it. We're talking about cats.
It's crazy, bro.
We're talking about cats, huh? We're talking about some felines. We're talking about, you know, they don't know anything because they're just animals and all that stuff, and we are higher than animals and all that stuff. If we're higher than animals, how come so much ancient Egyptian stuff is depicting humans as animals? Stop the BS.
Yeah. True. I mean, it's a direct connection to nature, but that's Islamic Moorish culture. You know, if you ever see, and I suggest if people read, if people read the Holy Quran or the Great Quran of Muhammad by Yusuf Ali, and there is written in 3 languages, like in columns, you know, but in 3 languages. And if you pay attention to the title of the chapters or the surahs, you know, they always show, in the beginning anyway, it connects to natural things, you know what I mean? Like Surah 2 Al-Baqarah, the cow, you know what I mean? There's a chapter on the bee. There's a chapter on natural things, you know, and all of that is directly in tune with nature. So, you know, for us to understand that it's not to idol worship, but to just recognize nature, recognize and have some sort of reverence for your environment. You know, that is the important lesson in all of this. You know, because at the end of the day, in the beginning of the day, the earth plane that we stand on is magic. Magic is feminine because, you know, it's a creation process in the sense of manifesting things. There's no tricks or no hacks or no cheat codes to this. It's just simple common sense, you know. Putting seeds in the earth bring forth fruit, and that's just what it is. That's the process of nature. So I'm saying that to say that the foundation that we stand on, or every house is on, you know, I mean, like, we could get even specific than that. If this is Mother Earth, right? So-called, quote-unquote, Mother Earth, and I do believe in the message that I'm saying, Mother Earth is intended to be understood no matter what language, is that, you know, the foundation that even us as so-called or being human beings stand on is feminine. So if we build a house, if we want the mansion and the big house, or, you know, just a house or whatever. You have to respect that the foundation is Earth, planet Earth. No matter how many concrete jungles they try to build, this is still, everything is founded on the feminine principle that exists here. Because it's only the Mother Earth or planet Earth that will produce things, or sustain a environment for them to exist in this 3D realm, or the third rock from the sun, the third dimension. That's why everything is in 3D. There's no such thing as anything being flat, including the Earth. So I'm saying that to say that, the principle is still there no matter what. You could be a builder, whatever. You could be a farmer, whatever. True farmers, and they'll tell you, like, everything in nature is built on feminine principles. The earth is the same in retro. Even the gods will tell you that, the woman is the earth, bro. You know what I'm saying? In that sense of, the earth manifests stuff. And getting back to what you were saying about wisdom. So I'm saying that to say that, in the essence of what Noble Drew Ali was teaching to the people was a particular balance. Because as you mentioned, even if they say, okay, well, Noble Drew Ali said, wives, obey your husband. Therefore, he was teaching the patriarch. I mean, in a sense, I wouldn't say he was teaching the patriarch. I do believe he was teaching balance, and even if anybody ever goes to Egypt or studies Egypt, so-called Egypt at that, if you pay attention to all of them, even if you never go and you got like those papyrus paintings, it's a science to what's being said in all of those, because the men have their left foot forward for masculinity, and you always see women with their right foot forward in these papyrus paintings of so-called Egyptians, because the left side represents the masculine, the right side represents the feminine. And you see Noble Drew Ali in the picture with his left foot forward. So as an Egyptian adept, he's sending you a message you might not even have comprehended. But that's what's all on those depictions of, the peoples on the wall in so-called Egypt. So with that being the case, I'm saying that they both had a balance. You know what I'm saying? Like, what good would anybody be if they had no place to actually do what they do? Not that they were any less worthy, but it's like, ancient matriarch principles definitely have founded everything else in existence, because everything in existence is founded really, real talk, on this earth planet that we know of. So yeah, it's no way, you can leave the feminine principle out. But I want to say this too, and I was speaking to you about this earlier, or acknowledging that the fact that even in this day, it's like, okay, well, people say, oh, Noble Drew Ali taught a patriarch because he said, wives, obey your husbands. But it's like, all right, that's a reasonable expectation if you really commit your life to a specific person. Like, if you are going to choose, like, let's say the sisters choose a house finder, you know what I mean? She would or should have enough respect for the brother to, acknowledge if they are team, like on a real deal, holy field team, what would be the problem with that? You know what I mean? And what would be the problem with the vice versa of a man being, because according to Noble Drew Ali, let me just read this. He says the duty of a husband, in chapter 22, master number, the builder. You know what I mean? Understand what's being said. Look at the numerology. Chapter 22 is the duty of a husband. For anybody who knows numerology, 22 is the master number of a builder. Man, that's fact. Also wisdom. So he's giving you the blueprint right here. He says in the numeration 7 of the chapter 22, he says, oppose not her inclination without cause. she is the partner of thy cares. Make her also the companion of thy pleasures. Whatever that means to you, the companion of your pleasures. So if you like to go out and do things, he's telling you right there, make her your date. You know what I'm saying? If you like to, whatever it is you into, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm saying that to say that he's giving you I don't want to say game, but he's giving you blueprint on how to have social affairs. So if he's saying in Act 7, okay, wives obey your husband, he's demanding equality in the lessons. Because remember, these is divine instructions from the Holy Prophet. So he's saying duties of a husband. Be faithful to her bed. Okay, that sounds for if she's the mother of thy children or whatnot. I'm saying that sounds like balance to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't expect obedience from somebody you're not faithful to. You know what I mean? Like, that's just a irrational expectation. So when two people commit to each other, if that be the case, I will believe that none of that should even be a problem. Because, if that was, why would you even choose a person like that to be in your life? You know what I'm saying? If you and I see this is why there's a lot of broken homes today. I can't speak for everybody, but I do know this. From my experience, what I've been studying about myself is this, bro. Like, my grandfather passed in November on my patrilineal side. You know what I mean? And him and my grandma have been together before he died 63 years. I need you to understand what I'm saying. They were both Moors. So the concept of, we can't stick together, we can't have, successful relationships. I'm not here to say that, 63 years with one person. I can't say they didn't experience other aspects of life. I can't say that they didn't go out there and explore. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But I can't say that they didn't either. They did or they didn't. But I'm just saying 63 years, that's longer. That's twice as long as I've been alive. And, that's some sort of unity I don't usually see. I'm not really familiar with that. And so I had to look and see for myself. Now, I'm just saying that to say that there has to be obligations on both. Because, if she's not your wife, she don't really owe you no obedience. You know what I'm saying? And I don't mean through marriage. And I'm only saying this, Cool Joe, because you said that this is why they're saying that, right? And I'm not saying here trying to go to bat for women in that sense. I'm saying being realistic in life. Like, if she's not your wife, you know what I'm saying, brothers? Like, she's gonna do what she wanna do anyway.
Right.
And likewise, you're gonna do what you're gonna do anyway. So it's not nothing for you to cling on to. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying that to say that in all reality, if she was or your wife or he was her husband or whatnot, that these simple things wouldn't even be something to even have to emphasize because it would just be natural. Like, there's, I mean, it happens all the time. People have sex with people they don't love and their children they didn't plan for. There was no legacy preset in place. This happens all the time. You know what I mean? But when Noble Drew Ali was giving this knowledge and wisdom, he was saying, like, look, prepare yourself for this because, if you're really going to do these things, if you're really going to start a family and, all of these things, there's some rules. So husbands had to be faithful to her bed, you know what I'm saying, according to Noble Drew Ali. For she is mother of thy children, and what you could do to bring acknowledgement into her life, when pain and sickness assault her. All of these things, you know what I mean? And, it just is what it is. So I say that to say that Noble Drew Ali had to bring a balance because he was so-called, or he was an Egyptian adept student. And With that being the case, there was no way he could not know the principles of balance, because you can't expect loyalty or obedience from somebody who's not your main squeeze. And I think that, like, even in today's society, like, being entitled to somebody is crazy. And the concept of marriage or the concept of husband and wife in these days is something that is misconstrued, because, you know, when Noble Drew Ali was speaking in the 1913s, 1920s, over 100 years ago, you know, and a little bit beyond, you know, but there was a different concept of what a wife and a husband was, you know, and his marriage license and all of this is where it gets confusing, because it's like, okay, people give more value to the piece of paper than their actual natural connection. So you don't want to have a situation where you're claiming a husband or wife that you really have no natural connection with, and it's just all on paper as a business arrangement. Like, I always said this, I said this before, you know, one of my elders taught me there's a lot of reasons to get married, and love is not one of them. You know what I mean? Love is not a reason to get married. And that's real, Holyfield talk. Those are business arrangements. Being married is a business arrangement. You know, love is natural. I say this, and I shared this thought with you. I said, look, man, because the first principle is love, right? The first principle is love. That means that if we are in that principle and we, you know, just are in that energy of love or whatnot, there's no way we could fall in so-called love, because we will be walking and being loved. So that's just something that comes natural. So you don't find yourself in a position where you're sitting there hating the person that you done, you know, made or contributed to the process of creation with another human being, and there was no love from the jump, you know. But if you're being that, and like I said, you know, according to the supreme alphabet, the letter L is for love, and love is the elevation of understanding. So therefore, that has to be you in your teaching element, you in your sharing knowledge, wisdom element. You know what I mean? To even possibly be able to love, because there's no way you can elevate understanding without love. You don't elevate understanding of people who you don't like, you know. That just makes, I don't know, but I'm not here to talk about people's emotions in full. I'm just saying that love is definitely an elevation of understanding, and that's a natural energy, and you can share that energy with anybody you choose to. But I'm just saying that, you know, if people are trying to circumscribe it like, oh, my wife must obey me, therefore, no, she can't go out tonight with her cousins or her best friend from whatever. You know what I'm saying? That's being too controlling, and I just think that personally has no bearing on the sense of, like, we're human beings first, we are our own people first, and we should be able to go do is what we want if we can, you know, without having to be pigeonholed unless necessary of, you know, an emergency. So people start picking their own people, and that's where the concept of, like, love and relationships, I believe, is mixed up. So therefore you think, you know, because this brother wants to have his way with this sister as long as he can, you know, okay, she must obey me. But if they really deep in like that, I don't think that would even be a problem, because they really gotta be on each other's team. So if they in each other's best interest, and the brother is like, okay, well, you know, don't do this, let's not do that, or let's do this. Okay, then if they really have each other's interests like that, I would say then what would be the problem? Not that anybody's obligated to. I'm just saying, like, what would be the problem with that in the same situation? So all of it is choice. I just think that staying in the first principle first and foremost, which is love, you know, it's something you wouldn't fall into as a trap. It would be something that you prepare for. It'd be something that you'd be ready to do or aspiring to do. If you're trying to start your own tribe or your own nation, that's really the protocol. You know what I'm saying? And it's a creative process. So I don't know, man. I just think that the balance has to be acknowledged in all of that. Like, that's just what it is. Honor your mothers and fathers, get your days may be lengthened on this earth plane. Even if they don't honor you know, that's their problem. You need to do that because the simple fact that that's where you came from. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it is. So pay homage, acknowledge, respect yourself because you got here through people who was here before you. And in this day and time, you know, that has to be respected and acknowledged and see it for what it is because it's not no battle of the sexes. Gender is one of the 7 Hermetic principles, but it has nothing to do with that. And I apologize. I don't know where my Kabbalion is at, but for sure and indeed, you know, gender is one of the 7 Hermetic principles. So,
and then remember
that has nothing to do with.
Well, just a quick interjection.
Go ahead, Mo.
because you said it, and it slapped me both times that you said it. Right? Not Hermetic principles, Hermetic principles.
Fact.
Remember, Hermetic comes from Hermes. And even though Hermes is a him, her is still what it's about.
Big fact.
That's balance.
All Aboriginal indigenous folks matriarch.
Right? That's balance. Balance is man recognizing that even though I'm masculine, feminine runs stuff. That's the balance. The balance is there's scales. There's one side that's masculine and one side that's feminine. We are of the ancient foremothers and forefathers of Egyptians who were a matriarchal culture because all the pharaohs were matriarchal, female. And just in that culture alone, they put so much matriarch, you would think that patriarch doesn't exist. You would think there's no masculine anything. If you read, and then the same thing if you go into Sufism. You know, like when you're talking about love and the Sufis idea is not the love, but the desire for the love. It's not about the principle love is the first principle, so follow the principle. No, the desire, recognizing what that really is, that principle, and then the longing for that is why that principle is the first principle. Which again goes back to complete reverence of the divine feminine. Because there's going to have to be balance. But the balance isn't some equal plane. You have breasts that don't work. Your clitoris is elongated. So you have a penis now. Slow your roll. We're degenerate them. It's not a diss, and it's not something to get mad about. That's just what it is. Once we start knowing our role and recognizing what real balance is, then things would get in order. Things not getting in order because these Moors want to play like Noble Drew Ali came out the cares of the world, holding a brother and sister in each hand or something. If he went into the cares of the world and came out with only a mother, what's he saying to all the patriarchs or whatever, all the men that were around? When he went into the cares of the world, there were no men there, only women? And he just grabbed one sister? Or the cares of the world have any and everybody in there? And he went and pulled her out of it to the solid rock of salvation. Now let's be real.
He could have came out the fish. He could have came out the water with a shark.
Let's be
real. Could have came out the water with anything.
All right, let's be real.
Came out with her.
Let's be real. He came out of the cares of the world, holding humanity. Not a brother and a sister on each arm, and then a child on his back or whatever, and then a dog in the pocket. None of that. Come with mother. Why? Why only mother? And then why is humanity written on her? Remember, he's a man. He's a son. Taking care of mother, looking out for mother. Yeah, he's the prophet, but he's a son. Yeah, he has, 5 times more powerful than all the other prophets or whatever. He's still a son. Stop the BS. Because Allah made him too. He isn't some special whatever. Allah made him just like Allah made Jesus, Buddha, Confucius, and all of them said, they're looking at us or whatever. There's people who are going to do greater stuff than we did. Go right back again to being caught up in the same Christianity that Noble Drew Ali told you get rid of. Now you're worshiping him. Now you got him like Jesus now, singing hymns for him. Like a
talk about it,
like
bro.
a nut job.
About it. Idolize Noble Drew Ali. That's crazy, bro.
That's the supreme sign of some patriarchy. You don't even honor Noble Drew Ali's mom. You're gonna honor him.
Right. Yeah.
That's some patriarchy right there. That's some honors to testicles before wombs. Nut jobs. And then these are the people who are the ones that people are looking at and say, oh yeah, Moors are, oh yeah, that's how Moors are, or that's how Moors aren't. Looking at those people who are playing some worship, patriarchal, whatever. I yield the floor, Moor. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. No, I just wanted to say that even when you look at that, it's like, okay, so with the patriarch, I'm not trying to defend it or anything of that nature. It's like, yo, it's no way he could have been about that alone in conjunction with what you were saying about him coming up out of the cares of the world and like had no consideration for mama. Like, there's no possible way, because I think that, the statement alone, come hear the truth about your nationality and birthrights, covers all of that.
Right.
Like, there's no way you could talk about your birth or your birthrights without talking about, who gave you birth. And it's just that simple. It's not a superiority. It's just the law of nature, always in effect. Definitely always.
Yep. Universal laws always in effect. Always.
Yeah.
And then with regard to the balance, I wanted to read this from the book, the Sibyls book. Glass Carthaginian mask amulet of black mommy deity Tanit, Tanit, also known as the Libyan, Liberia, and Astarte. She is shown wearing a full beard to exemplify not her bisexuality, as is often misunderstood by Western interpreters, but rather her divine complementary nature of both the feminine and masculine principles. In reality, the above is a modification of the divine seven serpents. The divine seven serpents, or the seven African powers, or the 7 days of Kwanzaa, or the 7 candles in the candlestick holder. And thus a manifestation of Tanit as the premier oracle of the first ancestral masculine sun fire deity Adama, or Bacchus. The white colon around her eyes and her cowrie-shaped mouth represents her ability to see and communicate in the world of spirit. This amulet was worn by Carthaginian soldiers to protect them from death during battles, and common folk to protect against the evil eye. Right? Put a beard on it and all that, but it's talking about mother. Talking about mother. With the beard on. We know that she's feminine because it's talking about seeing in other realms and all that stuff. High spiritual energy. But the masculine aspect, beard, is there. Everything else is feminine. That's balance. Beard is the only thing of masculinity that is going on with this Carthaginian protection amulet. Carthaginian protection amulet. They have, you know that it's a female. The masculine aspect of that is a beard. Think about how much she needed.
You said beard, like facial beard.
Yeah, facial beard. But that's the only thing that's adopted from masculine for her to create that balance.
Mm-hmm.
So for man to create that balance, he has to do 90% for the feminine. Because the Carthaginians had this amulet. And this amulet they used to protect them in war. And the amulet was 10% masculine and 90% feminine. Because the only aspect of masculine that makes up this amulet is a beard. Nothing else masculine. Think about how many things are masculine. When we think about balance, feminine, masculine. The duality, the dual nature of things. Think how many things are masculine.
Right, it exists in species.
Right? It's not
in
something
every
that...
species that principle exists.
It's there.
But in no species, like all of the species, it has to come from the female or the woman of the species, not just as so-called human beings. Like real talk, that is a fixed principle in nature. Everything comes from the female principle in nature. Every species, the woman carries the seed. And even if they say, well, okay, the seahorse Well, he's just holding her in the pouch. He's not actually so-called pregnant. So I'm just saying that, you know, in all of these philosophies of life, that the feminine principle is relevant in plants, in ocean creatures. Like you got male whales, you got female whales, you got male birds, you got female birds. All of these things, you know, and they all have to come from the female. That's just nature, bro. Like, I don't believe you could talk nationality and birthrights and not know that. You know what I mean? Like, I would say, not that I don't believe you can, but I would say you're not qualified in the sense that you can't acknowledge that. And even what you were saying about they worship Noble Ali and idolize many others, you know, that's something that they do even in the lodges, bro. Like, and I always say, you know, it's a difference between Freemasons and free and accepted Masons, because like in the lodge, you know, the Freemasons, those was definitely Moors, because they was free to build or destroy. But I'm saying those that was accepted, it's a difference, because like I just could never, I couldn't succumb, I couldn't even think about like going and worshiping another man as the worst, as the most worshipful master. Like they have a so-called, let's just say for example, that you got a seeker of a temple. You know what I'm saying? The seeker of the temple is not supposed to be worship. It's supposed to be what is not even worship, but like, you know, what it's about. That's what they do in the lodge. Like, all right, I'm going to put it like this. The Pope, they pray to a picture of a Moorish woman, period. You know what I'm saying? That's what they pray to. The Pope, who's supposed to be the substitute father or the chief patriarch, he's praying to a Moorish woman. Mm-hmm. You know, you have some people who are praying to a male image, and they did this with Noble Ali, but it's like, yo, none of them was saying worship them. So I feel like there's no way you can go to sign up for anything where you are worshiping another man. That's the true patriarch. Like, to me, that's the epitome of patriarch. Like, if you got to sign up for a club and acknowledge a man as the most worshipful master, like for me, I'll give props to masters, but when you put the word worship in front of it, I feel like now you're talking idolatry. Because if you got to worship another man as a most worshipful master in these modern Mason days or whatever, like, that's a supreme sin, bro. Like, that's straight up idolatry. Like, you idolizing, in a sense, people who are living like as a like, you have to worship them. Worship and wardship always go hand in hand from my perspective. So I'm just saying, that type of patriarch, some Moors have adopted that mentality in the aspect of, you know, oh, well, you got to come to this temple. Even the temple, you know, exists on the matriarch foundation, which is planet Earth. So everything is formed in the matriarch. Like, you can't even have a foundation without having Earth where you could dig into. You know what I'm saying? It's just that simple. So it's a balance with everything. But I'm going to yield the floor back to you temporarily, bro. Slam.
Islam, boy. So figure we might as well put some of this book out there to again stress the point. Page 65. However, the identity of literally hundreds of these original divine African goddesses will never be known. Their prophecies and history stolen and plagiarized. Their African statues and faces destroyed or deliberately obscured. Many overlaid with fake Arab, Greek, and Roman images reflecting centuries of foreign invasions, cultural theft, and hostile occupations. Although the Sibyls were known to the non-African ancient world as the prophetesses, all throughout ancient Africa, they were revered as divine. The great mother healers, diviners, and sages who literally gave birth to the gods and aligned their people to their own personal destiny, divinity, and to other ancestors. The Sibyls were descendants of the first prehistoric matrilineal order of so-called serpent-worshipping clans, of whom all African queens, queen mothers, and the ecclesiastical order of priestesses and diviners and healers and artists and stole builders were born. It was these warrior queens who fled in droves from Libya, Ethiopia, Uganda, Nubia, southern Syria, Babylon, into Asia Minor, Ionia, and ancient Mycenae to join their African and Dravidian sisters who had already established a new home for the African goddess after the Great Flood. In the New World, during transatlantic slavery, it was the descendants of these women and male priests and devotees who jumped into oceans rather than serve under another wave of colonial invaders. Just as in the modern day Mami Wata Vodun tradition, the Sibyls honored as Togboy, Amengansi, Hunan, Mama, Queen Mother, etc., were the high priestesses. The majority were even married and bore children, and most were required to be over the age of 50. This tenet came about after the rape of the very young Sibyl priestess some centuries ago at the shrine in Delphi. Afterwards, it was decreed that they must all be past their childbearing years. The historical fact was unknown to later church revisionists when they began concealing and obscuring the Sibyls' African identity by referring to them as white, chaste, youthful, and virgins. In ancient Greece, the Sibyls were known as Pythia, Pythoness, and Pythians because of the presence of the ancestral father python serpent. The most ancient of their shrines were at Delos. It was claimed to be where the Black Diana, as Artemis, was born. And later, after the siege of her temples, Apollo and Zeus names were added to the list of their original birth home. Right, the first prophetess of Mami Wata. Now, one of the things that we want to just address, put into perspective. However, the identity of literally hundreds of these original divine African goddesses will never be known. Their prophecies and history stolen and plagiarized, their African statues and faces destroyed or deliberately obscured, many overlaid with fake Arab, Greek, and Roman images, reflecting centuries of foreign invasion, cultural theft, and hostile occupations. Right? That's everything that we got for not honoring Mother. But ultimately, them not honoring themselves. This is why, again, there has to be balance. And just like we're saying we're subordinate and all that stuff, and we're humble, she being creator can't go nuts either and thinking she's holier than thou. Because that's how you fell the first time.
by leaning towards imbalance, by not recognizing that even though he's son, now he's grown. So have some respect for son, even though he's a dumbass and he's degenerate. He might be, growing up. He might be learning his lessons. So don't go nuts with your power. Because for these hundreds of original divine goddesses' names, identity not being known is because they fell. And the only reason that she fell is she stopped honoring herself and she started bringing imbalance by taking a superior position. And then that's the same thing that made the man fall. He's taking a superior position. And both of these poles are so far from each other because of everybody taking that position of superiority. This is why, again, when we look at... Go ahead, Moore. No, my fault. I wanted to ask you this. I don't know, some of the listeners probably heard about this, and I know this was coming from a place of ignorance. But I wanted to ask you this because it's funny you hit me up about this today. Like, there's so many excuses for our shortcomings as human beings. You know what I'm saying? But it was one of the big girl, the sister from the talk show The Real. And I'm only mentioning this because it came up in my news feed. That's how big it was the past week. She said that she thinks, this was her language, not mine. I know we're not Negro, black in color, but her as a Moorish, unconscious Moorish woman, she said that she said that she doesn't think that so-called black men can have faithful relationships because she didn't just say that. She said it's because of slavery, the homes was breaking up, and she's with a European man. Like, what do you think about that in as far as matriarchy and patriarchy is concerned? And I would love to hear from the people too. Like, can can there be a successful relationship without a reverence for what a matriarch is? Or vice versa? Can there be one? Because, I mean, all of us wasn't slaves, you know what I'm saying? And to say that, and I know we're not Negro, black, etc., but if this is some sisters' perspective of us, do you think that's right and exact? Or what you think about something said like that? I know you're not black, but if they was to substitute the proper word and say, well, all Moorish men can't have successful relationships because of trauma of slavery. What would you think about something like that? No comment?
Well, I mean, it wouldn't really be because of the slavery. There's definitely some trauma there from something.
Right.
But on the other side of it, brother's gonna work it out. Brother who's studying, knows himself or whatever, he's gonna make sure that she gets her 2 apples. And relationship will be fine. Not gonna be no issues. Again, because, he acknowledges the feminine worthiness. And even though he's a man, he gives his honors.
To me, yeah. But to me, that's just kind of like sad that a sister would even have to see us in that way. You know what I'm saying? Like something went very wrong. But I think that understanding balance in the science of the 7, even it doesn't matter. Like I just think that will bring balance to all of that. You know what I'm saying? Because it may be true. You know what I'm saying? It may not be true, but I don't know. That's just a deep statement to say.
But even on the level of the trauma, you know what I mean? Like there's Moors right now who they themselves are conscious, competent Moors, but they saw their nigger dad beat their mom. They might not personally beat their woman or whatever. They might not personally do that, but they're dealing with some trauma from that. But again, these lessons are supposed to make us better citizens. Like the lessons are really to cure us of mental slavery that we have now. And part of that mental slavery is some of the stuff like what she's talking about. Well, she can't, whatever, because, well, I mean, how many quote unquote black men have you even gone out with?
That's another question. You know what I'm saying?
Like if she only went out with one black guy. She went out with one black guy and it was the worst date ever. And then that's what she's using as a reference point to say, nah, she wants to be with a European. Nah, she just wants to be with a European.
Facts.
You know what I mean? That's her cup of tea. She's just down with, she'll date some European, marry a European, whatever, because that's just her stuff. Now, that could be her trauma. She could be dealing with some trauma that she doesn't want to deal with. Like her favorite aunt or whatever that used to like European men and always be in the Corvette and all that stuff. And, that was appealing.
Yeah.
But, you never got to know, because when you're dealing with people who are calling people black and all that stuff, you're getting into this colored jurisdiction where, anything and everything goes. There's no morals or no principles or whatever. They'll just go with whatever, just because. You know what I mean? They don't know any better.
Big fact.
It's like the child who has to walk into the corner of the table 50 times to realize don't go that way. They don't know any better. And again, bringing up the thing of the whole concept of, faithful and whatever, like that's even skewed. Because only those two people really know.
I mean, but this is the lesson. Yeah, and if I can make this clear again for anybody who might just be tuning in, like, we speaking on this because these are the lessons of Noble Drew Ali. And this conversation got started simply because, people were saying because it says wives obey your husband, that means that he was teaching the patriarch. So this is something that has to be spoken about from all perspectives if we're really gonna, analyze this thing. I'm not saying we got all the answers, but the reality is definitely that, it wasn't a one-way street with his instructions. I say that because from real life experience, you can't be like when he says husbands be faithful to your wife's bed, he's saying, make her the companion of your pleasures. That means take her out on dates. You know what I'm saying? Things of this nature. You have to understand it's a two-way street. You know what I'm saying? You can't just cut her off from her family and think like, oh, she's supposed to obey you because you don't want her to be with her sisters and cousins and you want to whatever. That's slavery, man. I'm sorry. Like, in the essence of how this conversation even got started.
Facts.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that has to be acknowledged. So I'm just saying that I would suggest that, people don't, procreate with people they don't see themselves having a outstanding, outlasting relationship with. I think that's the remedy. According to this, because he even tells you at one point, don't get caught up in fancies and all of that. And he gives you instructions to turn your instructions for young men, I believe.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He's telling them to turn your feet from her alluring enchantments of illusion. And vice versa. Sisters need to take notes too. So I'm just saying,
Oh, let's just put those notes out there. Let's put those notes out there, just because another part of it with regard to the whole thing with the faithful and cheating and all the BS or whatever. How come they don't find an example like your grandparents to use? Because let's just say, let's just say, for example, right? Let's just say, for example, that did happen in their relationship. Whoever did it doesn't matter. But they obviously figured something out if they stayed together 63 years or whatever.
That's a 9. And they only separated word is bond, death did them part, bro.
All right, so
real talk, death did them part.
Okay.
And I seen the pictures of them early, and I'm like, yo, they both look so fresh and beautified. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I see why they chose each other, even off the physical attraction.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in any type of lower self.
Right.
I'm just saying, when my grandma, he passed at 83. My grandma was 20 when they linked up.
Yeah.
And she was beautiful. Beautiful. And beauty phases out with age for some. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I never thought that was, a real thing. I mean, I know it is or whatnot, but I'm just saying I haven't heard of anybody going 63 years strong that I personally know of. It may be, I know it's out there. I know it has to be other ones, but I'm just saying, so for me, I'm looking at it like in all aspects of life, I'm trying to beat the odds.
Right.
Like in everything, not just, successful relationship. I'm looking at it like, I want to beat the odds of everything.
Right.
That's in my DNA. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, real talk. And I just want to do that. So.
But again,
that's
right.
That's an example.
But that's right back to the lessons of once you study yourself, you figure this stuff out. Like only studying self will you figure it out. If like the sister you're talking about, she's not studying herself. So again, she's all over the place. She's in limbo. Lost in the sauce.
Yeah.
But once you study self, and again, we're in a special breed because we have lessons to teach us how to do that. We don't have to guess. We don't have to assume. We don't have to go out there and read 500 books or whatever to try to figure this stuff out. Somebody already did all that for us. Everything's done. All we have to do is put it into practice. And again, from his perspective, he was talking to man and woman. Get your shit together. Everybody got to get their stuff together. But it starts with recognizing where the energy is supposed to be directed. And again, he brought it in all the lessons. If you read Holy Instruction Warning for All Men, Instructions of a Man to Wife, everything is dealing with women. There's nothing in there really talking about man do something. Because it's all irrelevant if she doesn't have her stuff together. If her stuff's not together, you're wasting your time. Horses go before carts. That's just what it is. We're mad because you want to put the cart before the horse and it should move and all that stuff. We gotta get the hell out of here.
Right.
You know, there's only one way that this is gonna go. Only one way that it's gonna go. And you know, like we're saying, if they're talking crazy like that lady on the show, and if they're, you know, like some Cardi B or whoever out here doing madness, like we're not talking about them ruling. You know what I mean? Them, when we say matriarch rules or whatever, they're not included in the conversation. We only mean the ones who have their stuff right or are moving in the direction of getting themselves right. We're not talking about loose people. We're talking about moralistic people. Talking about people who would live by principles, who would stand up for things that are right. That level of matriarchy, not, you know, on the stage, a million people singing their song, that matriarchy. We're not talking about that. Talk about the prophetess. Talk about the Mami Watas. That level. The ones who's going to give you a cup of tea and then read the leaves in the bottom of the tea and do your fortune.
He said, do your fortune. Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah,
The mother who's going to go in her purse and pull out some cards and see if you should date. Forget, I like you and, you know, you have some good shoes on or whatever.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta be specific in these days.
Yeah.
Because I mean, and this is not to classify everybody in one group or whatnot. I'm just saying that, you know, it's a real thing. I don't think that if you're not serious with nobody on the point of you would say, well, that's my husband, or a sister with or vice versa, a sister, a brother would claim that's my wife. If you're not claiming that, and that's not the reality or truth of the situation, you know, I don't think you can exact obedience from anybody, rightfully so, in the sense of, you know, anything outside of basic human respect. So even if you know you're not having nothing that serious with somebody, you know, don't you know, let them be free. Like, don't try to boss up. Like, you know, you don't want nothing serious with this woman, or you don't want nothing serious with this brother, or you know what I'm saying, and you just want to control. I think a lot of our people have become control freaks, back to the point of what you were saying. They just want to run somebody else's brain. And this is about knowing and being yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I say that to say, you know, there's no way we should be submitting to the imposition of anything against our own will as human beings, bro. Like, I do believe that that's the remedy of letting each other be free, if that's going to be the case. Outside of that, I would say this: men are going to be men, women are going to be women, but it's the fixation point and the whole foundation of this is a patriarch, because, you know, Noble Drew Ali said, wives obey your husband. I would say that can't be the sole reason. I don't believe that is a trace of him trying to push a superiority on anybody. I just do acknowledge the fact that, you know, he had brought balance to both, you know, and no superiority games or none of that.
Right.
The fact that he was bringing balance, you know. So, yeah, I know it's a touchy subject. We could go in on a lot of different things, and I'm sure I know this. But that's the point, is that, nah, that can't be the sole reason he said he pushes patriarch, because there's equality in the sense of the fact that he was giving instructions to the brothers too, and
Right.
and they have corollary obligation.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And the lessons that the brothers got was about their obligation to mother.
Yeah.
That was the lessons. Go back and read all those stuff we just talked about. Read all those chapters. And you tell me if that's not telling you about how to honor women. From 20 to 25. Interestingly, from 20 to 25, so each chapter is one of the principles. 20 to 25.
Yeah.
Right? And then chapter 21 being the longest of them, which is the truth. And when you read that, you realize how true it is. He wasn't playing around with not get us in order. And it's real easy to do that. All the lessons are there, laid out for us in its most simplest form. So we can't even pretend like we don't get it. You can't even pretend like you read those and then you don't know what they're saying. Because put in the most simplest terms for any idiot, Negro, black, colored, to get it when they come into this. That's why they get that book. And you're told to study it. Because it will get you right. But that's only if you want to get right. It can't make you, if people are going to play games and they're going to be skipping chapter 20 to 25 and read everything else, playing games with you. When they go to Act 7, instead of going to chapter 20 to 25, they're playing games with you and with Noble Drew Ali's stuff. If they're talking about what this is about and what this has to do with, and did Noble Drew Ali teach this or that or whatever, if they're going to tell you Act 7, Divine Constitution and Bylaws, is where you get the lessons to learn how you're supposed to be as a Moorish American or a people who are obliged to each other and have a covenant that you're going to stay together till death do us part and all that stuff. If they're skipping chapter 20 to 25 and they're not talking about that, that should let you know that they're patriarchal in their mindset. They're one-sided. They're only on the side of matriarchy, which means that they're still dealing in Christianity that Noble Drew Ali told them get rid of. And if they're dealing in Christianity, then those aren't Muslims, those are Moriscos. And you should probably find yourself a Moor as soon as possible and get this Morisco out of your life. Because trust what's going on.
Yeah.
When they talk about this thing with the sister that you were talking about, you know what I mean? Notice that a lot of those people who are in entertainment or whatever, they're playing the sell out their birthright. The mothers and the sons playing around. Because it can't keep going with the two poles going in opposite directions forever. And we have to be the ones that are Moors, the ones who know the truth about their nationality and their birthrights, we're the ones that have to put the energy in place so that the shift where she is getting back into her right position, acknowledged position, is going to create that balance that we all want so bad. And it's only going to be through really taking serious, stop playing with what Noble Drew Ali brought. Because he wasn't shallow, even though his books were small and his language was simple. Like, he wasn't shallow. He was deep AF. He was deep. Deep. When you take what he brought you into meditation with you, somebody threw up some shrooms in the thing. You take some shrooms and read the Quran, see what happens.
What?
Yeah, play around.
Yeah.
You want to know what Noble Drew Ali brought? Okay. Yeah. Read some Quran.
Right. Hey, yo, you know what's crazy? That's crazy, because think about how many herbs that ain't even been discovered yet that will stimulate the mind in a sense.
Tap you in.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, but that's tapping into man being the Lord of the plane that everything may manifest, of mineral, protoplast, beast. You know what I'm saying? Why did creative fate give to spirit man a soul that he may function on the plane of soul? That's a question right out of chapter 1. You know what I mean? Why did creative fate and give to spirit man a soul that he may function on the plane of soul? And you look at it and it's like, okay, well, there's a lot of things on this planet, you know, and you here in the flesh through the spirit man and whatnot. I never tried those. I'm just saying that, you know, the reality is there's many herbs here that have been classified in the wrong light, because a lot of people get it twisted. Like, you know, hemp does not get you lifted. There's no THC in hemp. Like, there's psychedelic triggers in marijuana and mushroom. There's nothing in hemp. Hemp is a material. But because it is a sister plant to cannabis, or so-called Mary Jane, you know, the Europeans just banned it. Like, yo, don't let them tap into no industry. You know what I'm saying? Because you can make so much with hemp. Clothes, ropes, all of this durable material. You know, and even in the word material, you got matriarch or mother. It all means the same thing. Material, matriarch, mother, all of them mean the same. So all this material on this Mother Earth, you know, it's like it provides everything you need, but hemp would never get anybody lifted or as an upper. You know what I mean? It's a difference. So, you know, it's more scientists if we looking at, and I'm just going in because you mentioned the so-called mushrooms in the chat, you know, but all of these things come from nature. I would never say do that. I'm just saying that it's true. Even the shamans, you know, utilize these different things. They even liquids from herbs. So, for so-called wine is fermented grapes and natural things that grow. So I'm just saying this is the plane of magic. Earth is definitely the plane of magic, and all of that is here. You know what I'm saying? All of it is here. And it's just the process of creation. You know?
Just love. And again, with the process of creation, you just want to just want to read a little bit more. There's a book right here. Page 89. We are told by Higgins that the etymological root of Jehovah had been deliberately disguised to conceal that it was an ancient praise word for Krishna, i.e., Jah is also the symbol atop the Omphale temple at Delphi, and whose image was found in the ancient temple ruins at Thebes. In other words, when this faction of Hebrews broke away from the divine African mother, they deliberately disguised their ancestral connection to her and the oneness, who have their ancient roots in actually Ethiopian India. According to him, it was actually Krishna whom the Sibyls are said to come after Buddha as the next incarnation of the sun god. These Jews further altered the oracles and placed into their mouths of their own prophets, proclaiming themselves as the persecuted and chosen people, for whom the divine African mother, now changed to Yahweh or Jehovah, was referencing. Roman theologian Tertullian even admits that the Sibyl prophecies was ancienter than all of the heathen learning that told real events, and whose words you have put in the mouths of your prophets instead of the demons. By this time, African deities were as a rule referred to as the Christianized demons, a Greek word actually meaning spirit or familiar. More profoundly, what is being implied in the above is an admission that the biblical books claimed to have been written by Hebrew prophets may have actually been the prophecies of the Sibyls. Over time, being aware of the monumental task and near impossibility of removing all the traces of the Sibyls from written history, the Jews, in attempting to disguise the African pagan heathen origins of the Sibyls, delineated them as being of Persian descent and of the Zoroastrian order. However, when one considers the philosophy of Zoroaster, a fiercely nationalistic and virulent, misogynistic Iranian prophet who hated women and predicted that most were doomed to go to hell, one can appreciate the utter absurdity and recklessness of such a historical cover-up. The Roman Church, in their ignorance and ambition, acquired and doctored the Jews' corrupted versions until one could hardly distinguish one forgery from another. Not wanting to acknowledge the prophecies as being forged to establish the foundation of Christianity, the Christian papacy forbade the reading of the Bible entirely. Then, in an attempt at covering all of their bases, the historically documented the most famous of these Sibyls as being white, virgin, and saved, pure and Christ-inspired. Their official justification being this agitation of the devils and the replies of the idols lasted until the coming of Christ our Lord, who brought the olive branch as a sign that the tempest of idolatry has passed away. And that's why they always go after her. They go after her because once you get her out of the way, once you destroy humanity, nobody has a chance. Nobody has a chance once you destroy humanity. And again, going back to why Noble Drew Ali was bringing humanity out of the cares of the world. Because the special thing about her is that everything in existence comes from her. Because the only creator is feminine. She also creates masculine, which again is that beard, but feminine is really superior. And masculine is subordinate, which is still balance. You didn't get man out the way. He's not swept under the rug. He's just been taught that he had a bigger position than he really has. And mothers just need to step up. So once mothers step up, then some things are going to change. But mother has to recognize it. Sons could say whatever. It's like when we get all the emails and stuff like that. When emails come through from mother, there's about 8 mothers that I'm gonna send them to, because I'm not dealing with it. Because I already know that mother and mother building is what's needed. Sons, you just chill.
Right.
Not needed right now. If they need something, they'll call you. Got a brilliant idea? Hold your idea for now. We had our try. And we didn't do jack with what we had.
Mm-hmm.
We had our opportunity. We didn't do jack. You're gonna go marching up and down
Right.
the place.
And that's why you don't wait around.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Don't wait on nothing that ain't happening.
Had our chance.
Real talk. Right.
Go back even to the Panthers. It was women were the ones running that. That's what was up.
Yeah, even to this day, I don't base existence off of what the Pilgrims got going on, but it hasn't, and it's not something it's just an observation. It's not something I'm proud to say or nothing like that. But for the most part, like if you're dealing with political situations, the first people you're gonna meet is gonna be some women administrators, bro. Like that's just how it functions.
Mm-hmm.
Even to this day. You know what I mean? To this very day. Like that's how they do it. You know what I mean? All of it runs off of that. So I'm not saying that you don't have a role as sons. I'm saying that, the function of nature, this is why Europeans is beating us out in certain aspects, because they already know how stuff runs. You know what I mean? And that's not to say we don't got our position, but it's just the truth. It's the truth. So you might even see, even in some of these institutions, they might have a Moorish woman at the face of it. You know what I mean? But that's just how they get down. So I don't know. I just think that it's an interesting thing, and it's all meant to be balanced. We're not supposed to be the same. We're supposed to understand we're supposed to have a certain understanding as human beings as far as what, species we are, no doubt. That would include nationality and birthright. But, of course, everybody's not going to see things the same, and that's just what it is. But I believe that all of that, you can't be an Egyptian Arab student and not know about the balance of basic nature throughout all the species. All the species. There's always that duality principle. And then that duality principle is supposed to operate in a unison principle to manifest, a trinity. That's just how it goes, bro. And they can repeat that process over and over and over. Therefore, you got, certain families with a lot of children, So I'm just saying that in nature, it's not about who's better or superior as a man or female. It's just a function, that has to exist. like the all has to express its dual forms. No different than as human beings, you know, we express our forms and feelings and creative thoughts through different times. Like you might be angry, there's times where you upset, there's times where you're happy. All of this has to express itself. All of your natural feels have to express themselves in one way or another. Even if you gotta go in the booth and just lay some fire music, you have to express. So that's like the reflection of being made in the image and likeness of the Creator. It has to express itself in its masculine and feminine form, not just human beings, but all mammals, all creatures throughout nature. It's just that duality. So I say that to say that, bro, you know, whoever's saying that it's a patriarchy based off of one aspect of what Noble Drew Ali said, can't be paying attention to the holistic view. There's no way they can be paying attention to the holistic view of what's functioning. Because anything else is dysfunction. Real talk, bro. Yeah, peace, more. But yeah, we had 11:15. I know we have a few listeners, but not much callers.
Islam.
So if you want to say anything, it's not. So, yeah, man, I don't know. Anything you want to say if in closing out?
Yo, everything that could be said, I think, was said, to be honest with you. Unless there's anybody who wants to push one and add on, you know, I don't think there's not much more to say, really, because the reality is there. You know, there's no confusion with what was presented by the noble prophet. So and he told you in imagery and he told you in words. If you still don't get it, then, you know, maybe you need to be on some Badu the next lifetime or something.
Yeah, yo, we do got a couple of callers here, though.
Oh, all right, yeah, that's what's up.
So I'm going to open the line. Yeah. All right, caller 252-367. You live on the air. You with us, man?
Islam, brothers, mothers. High honors to you, brothers. High honors to the mothers. I first of all want to say that I thank you all so much. I thank you all for all that you all do with information. I am a newborn to all of this. I've been studying. Well, I came out of religion at 26, but I've been studying for a while now, and I've come across a lot of different information, and I ultimately got disgusted with religion in general. But I have a question, and that question is kind of based off of some of the information that I believe I came across in my studies. As far as like we've been talking about patriarch and matriarch, and like for instance the term God, and we say Allah and things of that nature. The term God not existing in like our ancient Hermetic or Egyptian tradition, and then I think it was Dr. John Henry Clark that said all religions came from imperialism. Like Islam was a handmaid of Arab imperialism, Christianity, European imperialism. So when we're talking about Allah, are we talking about the head, all law. Exactly what are we talking about? Are we talking about governmental ordinance department? What exactly are we referring to when we say all praise Allah?
Peace, more. Allah is all. The root word of Allah is all. That's a fact. So Allah is everything. Allah is all. In that context of what Moors mean when they say, according to the lessons of Noble Dwelly in the Circle 7, it does say that Allah is all. So there's no separation between everything natural in existence, because it's really all one. It's all a reflection of the all. And yeah, Allah is all law as well, but you're a part of that all. So, according to so-called scripture, you was made in the image and likeness of God, or the Creator, or the Most High. So it would make sense if you was made in the image and likeness that you were also, be a reflection of that all. So yeah, it's you,
That's okay. All right. That's
let me add this. Let me add this as well too. That we're going back to what we were talking about earlier with the dual nature. So Allah is all, but Allah is also God. Allah is also, because again, if Noble Drew Ali taught that when man honors man, he honors Allah. He's telling you that Allah and man are one.
Yeah, and when you look at the face of man, you look at the image of Allah. So you look like God to me.
Yeah, I guess the same reason behind my question was because if you go back 10,000 years ago when they didn't refer to I imagine the verse and all law and science and how they came about the information as God, so to speak, or Allah, so to speak. How exactly can we define any of that besides knowing that we are all in all part of all creation and all universe, because we can't necessarily give it a name.
Right. But it's the same thing with us. We're not a name.
Correct.
We're not that card that says whatever, or that paper that says whatever. Right? We're divine as well. Which again goes back to the all, and Allah being all universal law, all law. And the universal law says that there has to be balance, there has to be correspondence, there has to be gender. There are certain things that you're just gonna have, right? And part of that, universal law principles is that as above, so below. So you're gonna have a microcosm and a macrocosm in everything.
Agreed.
And once the focus is on the microcosm, that's when you have imbalance.
Islam, brothers, I appreciate that. That's all I have. I'll yield the floor.
Islam, brother.
Islam.
And again, even when going back to identifying, anciently what it was mother. It was the mother of creation, or Mother Nature, or Mother Earth. Like whatever the ancient people did, they honored Mother.
You have to. You know what I mean?
It's
like,
what it
no
is.
matter what. Like, we exist on the feminine principle, bro. The earth is feminine. That's just it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that you want to talk about temples and all of that. Don't know temples exist without this planet, Earth, which is feminine.
Straight
so
up.
I'm just saying, and, it's just that simple. Like, it's not even rocket science. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It just is what it is. Even if you're a builder, even if you're a mason, a true operative mason, you know what the mud is. The mud is the mortar. The mud is the concrete. You know, all of these is earth elements that have to go into this clay that you utilize to build, to make things stick. You know what I'm saying? Oh, yo, give me a sec. I knew it was something I wanted to say. And shout out to caller 804. I'm about to unmute you. But I want to take a brief look. Oh, yeah. I wanted to say this on this whole principle, right? I'm about to drop a jewel on y'all real quick. Some of y'all know this, but this is out of some Masonic literature. I'm going to read this for the record. It's called The Craft and Its Symbols. It's called The Craft and Its Symbols. Now, mind you, earlier I said in the Quran, the Great Quran of Muhammad, by Yusuf Ali, with 3 columns. It's written in Arabic, English, and I believe Italian. Some other language I do not know. But it always starts off with a natural animal. So I'm saying this is from Masonry. We're talking about matriarchy. But it goes into the beehive. You know what I'm saying? It goes into the beehive. It's a symbol of a beehive. And not no Beyonce beehive. Like, beehives are more ancient than that. No disrespect to her. But I'm just saying. So this is what it says. Now, mind you, this is Masonic literature, page 73 of The Craft and Its Symbols. And it says this, and it's a point I want to get to. It says, the beehive Masonically is an emblem of industry. The ritual recommends strongly that industry be practiced by all created beings. It tells us that we should never be content to be idle, especially when we can help our fellow men by exerting a little effort. When and why the hive of the bee entered Freemasonry as a symbol, no one knows. Much has been written on the subject. It has been pointed out that the hive pictured in all Masonic monitors is man-made. The bee, however, does make the comb in geometrical perfection. Its 6-sided cells provide more storage space for the honey from a weak material wax than could any other design. This is certainly a sign of industry and a symbol of perfection. In the book, the early Masonic catechisms, the bee in masonry is mentioned as early as 1724. Now, hold on, I know that's not too ancient, but check this out. It says it was mentioned as early as 1724 in the expose printed in Ireland. It had this to say. Now, this is what I was trying to point out. It says, a bee has in all ages and nations in the grand hieroglyphic of masonry because it excels all other living creatures in contrivance and commodiousness of its habitation or comb. Nay, masonry or building seems to be of the very essence of nature, of nature or the bee. For her building, not the ordinary way of all other living creatures, is generative cause which produces the young ones. This is a Masonic writer saying, I suppose that bees are of neither sex. But this is a key lesson in masonry. But they already showing you that all of it comes from the origin of the feminine principle, right? because you got to get honey from bees. But they're showing you that bees know how to build more than some people do. You know what I mean? But everything in nature is supposed to know how to build. And this is the correlation between mother and son. That's what Masonry is. That's actually what it is. So I'm not trying to teach nobody, all of that, but I'm just saying the fact that even with this being a grand emblem of so-called Masons, and we all know that at least the Moors on these degrees know that Mason means my son, that they're saying even with that going on, they don't know what the sex is. You know what I'm saying? That the bees are born of neither. Now I know there's the queen bee and all of that, but it's obviously speaking about the ritual nature of how they make the male bees and whatnot. So I'm saying that to say that all law is correlative, because that's what Islam is being at peace and one with nature. But Masonry has held secret to what it's really about. But it's very obvious when you look at it. So the builders, you know what I'm saying, is Allah, is man, and Allah one? Yes, absolutely. According to the lessons Noble Drali laid out too, because he's saying that, if you look in the image, in the face of man, you're looking at the image of Allah. You know what I mean? And it's just that simple. So yeah, you have to be a part of that all, because it's just nature. So look, I just want to say, I'm gonna go ahead and take the next caller, because we got a half an hour left and a couple of more callers.
Islam.
So I want to be fair and get that going. Islam. All right. So caller 804-921. Peace, you live on the air. You with this? Islam. Can you all hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yes, we can hear you, bro. Oh yeah, this is brother Azad. I have some things that that's always on my mind. Especially with this subject, because it's a very touchy subject. And we all are on a good page and good avenue. One thing that I want to touch on is the live stream that you all did with Red Pill and Blue Pill, and the honor that they gave to Mother on that platform. That was a very, very important piece of our story that is always needed. Now the thing that I roll with is understanding that this touchy subject is that we talk about Mother, but we also have to prepare ourselves as men and as sons for this subject, because the way of the world and how things are now, where it was a brother that was on the call last night and the night before, and he was talking about he was from a certain area, and when you're dealing with that type of situation and you're dealing with it by yourself, you don't have the mother that's around you that's conscious enough to give that attention to the way that it should be, because as he was stating that when you talk to different people, they're just not where you are. So what I'm saying is that I know that we have to collectively come together as brothers, getting ourselves together to understand what is needed for the uplifting of fallen humanity, which is Mother. So we have a lot of unconscious mothers and that are not at the level that is needed. So yes, we've been working and doing certain things, but what I'm saying is I know that this is a touchy subject for us to all grasp at one or more settings, especially for new people that is coming in and they don't understand. Well, what are they talking about? What do you mean? So just getting to understand it, I think that we have to prepare ourselves for the new wave. Especially like someone like myself that I talk to my daughter and teach her certain things. but I do understand that she's not where she should be because she also has her mother who is not of the understanding of where she should be as far as in being uplifted. You know, so it's a battle in itself because when I talk to her, she's saying, well, hey, Dad, I don't want you to confuse me. And I'm saying, well, I don't want to confuse you. I want you to understand that, you know, it's just two sides to everything. You know, so I hope I'm not talking in circles.
Oh, no, boy, you're good. Because this is all part of the figuring this out. You know, that everybody has a perspective that we can look at everything from. You know what I mean? And we have to just have that intellectual humility to be able to accept certain things and to also take some criticism with regard to maybe our perspective being off and us not really being on the straight and narrow, you know, where we're supposed to be. But it's going to be all about correction. And the only people who are going to have any type of impact in correction are the ones who know and say something with regard to what they know, or what they know being operative, not merely speculative. So being the example is really what we should be striving for if we're trying to influence others. You know, like actually being the example of what it is that people are expecting.
Facts.
So that
being said, we got more callers in the queue, and we only have a few minutes left. So definitely want to get to the next caller. And hopefully we continue this conversation. I know it was sort of light tonight because it definitely is a touchy subject.
Right.
But let's see what the next caller has to add on. All right. Caller 682-360. You live on the air. You with us, man? Yes, Assalamu alaikum. Peace, more.
Alaikum salam, more.
Alaikum assalam. Yeah, this is a touchy situation, but this is a touchy topic, but it's one that's really needed, especially in today's time, like you all are saying. I wanted to speak on the 101s, the prophet holding up the woman, and want to speak on a few more other things. We only got a few minutes left, bro. So please, okay, you know. Let me get it together. I'm trying to collect my thoughts so I can express it in the way I know I need to. Humanity is written on her womb, right? So this is my perspective, you know what I'm saying? And criticize me, correct me as you will, because I need it, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm confused. But humanity is written on her womb, right? So Noble Drawley understood that all humanity comes through the womb, especially on this plane. But was saying that the reason why she's unconscious or she's saving her is because she's unconscious. So if a mother is unconscious, put that in that time frame too. Before I don't want to cut your wisdom, but you're talking between 1913 and 1928. Yeah, even to now. But I'm saying that image was from back then. So was she just freshly asleep? Because the 14th Amendment and all that had just hit in 1865. And I'm not saying that's when she went to sleep, but I'm just saying, that's that climate. And here we are 100 years later. So continue, but keep that in perspective.
Right. I think woman, mother been asleep. That's why we fell into slavery. But she's unconscious, and it's Matriarchy is holding her up. It's a son picking an unconscious mother up, right? So he begins to pick the woman up, uplifting the woman, right? Uplifting the woman, uplift humanity through her womb. But I don't think he was one-sided also. As I read through a lot of his work, you know what I'm saying, he made it clear that mother needs to be corrected, especially when she's unconscious. So in the oral statement of prophecies, 162, Holy Prophet said, if my own mother is not right, I'm not going to let her get by. Why? Because in order to correct humanity, you must correct the unconscious mother. You understand? So it wasn't Matriarchy understood, like you said, the science of life. Everything is brought here through woman, through the womb. And basically everything really in existence is brought through some sort of womb.
Facts.
The reason why I think about that is when I hear Father God, me and my partner, we get into it, not get into it, but we debate, iron sharpens iron. And so we'll go back and forth, like we do for hours, specifically on this topic right here. And he always tell me, why didn't you say Father all the time? Father God, Allah. And I told him, I said, I can't really tell you that, but I can tell you from my perspective and what I think, you know what I'm saying? And when I study nature and I look at nature, I like to correlate nature with a lot of things, with a lot of facts or things that I observe. I like to see how it correlates with nature. And in nature, I see a man, right, gives off spark to an egg, right? And as he gives that spark, the egg begins to grow or it's a lot more steps, but you get what I'm saying. It begins to grow into a child where she can hold in that womb and nurture. So I said, I thought about that in the metaphysical form. I thought, okay, so what if Allah, why they said Father, is because it's that spark, that energy that started. And then Mother Nature, why we say Mother Nature, because or Mother or Mother Earth is because them are wombs that are holding that spark. The same as if a male would spark an egg and the woman would hold that and sustain that spark, right? And so, again, I go back to Matriarchy's teachings and I analyze his work. And in chapter, I don't even know what it is. I ain't gonna get it messed up, but it's the obedience of the children towards their father. And so, keep in mind what I just said. When you go to number 4, it says, "Be grateful to thy father, for he gave thee life, and to thy mother, for she sustains thee." So I immediately thinking, okay, right. So that energy that's being sparked is being sustained by mother into the form of another Allah. Right?
Yeah, so, I mean, this is just the universal principle. You see it when you look up in the sky, you got the sun and the moon. That's masculine, feminine energy. It's just that simple. As above, so below. These are creative forces. The sun and the moon are creative forces. And as above, so below, these are the two most obvious planetary bodies outside of the one that we're on. The most obvious. You know, we see these every day. So it's a co-creative force. And it's just as simple as that. It's not a superiority game or, you know, a battle of the sexes or whatnot. It's like, yo, everything has its role in nature. It is beyond just us as species of human beings because male and female exist in every species. It's not an accident. When you see that through every species, whether you're talking lions, cheetahs, cats, elephants, dogs, you know, male human beings, birds, male and female is a consistent principle in nature. Just that, you know what I'm saying? And that's just what it is. So there's none of us who are going to say anything that's going to erase that principle because that's evident. That's obvious. You know what I mean? That's not a mistake. That's how the great God of the universe intended it to be. And that's just what it is. So it's not, you know, as far as I'm concerned, you know, gender means stop. It means kind. You look at the 7 Hermetic principles, you know, and
ebb and flow.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it's no such thing as one without the other in the sense of the process of nature. Yeah, I would say that the woman had to come before us, but we was definitely not too far behind because it's not like we popped up here on accident when the reality is it's a principle consistent throughout nature. Right. So you need to look at, observe nature. Everything has its 2 sexes, male and female. Everything.
Right.
So.
And we like you said, we know mother comes first because, you know, you have to have a womb before you can, I mean, you have to have that womb to sustain the life before you can begin to give life. But also in chapter 1, I've seen a correlation to what was being said too also tonight. Says now seeds are perfect, yet as perfect as the source from which they come, but they are not unfolded into life made manifest. The child is as perfect as the mother is.
There you
so
go.
Right there,
shit.
We know that mother, you know, comes first. Not down in mother because mother needs to be uplifted. That's the only way we're going to uplift humanity. You know, so
that's a big
I get that. But also, you know, spirit, I don't know if it has a gender. You know what I'm saying? I think gender is only on a physical plane. Understand? So it's all in nature. Like you said, I look at it like a battery. And a battery won't work without one side. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter if you take the negative or you take the positive off. But when you talk about ebb and flow, you're talking about positive and negative, not meaning bad or good, but positive charge on a battery sparks, give it that flow, and then the negative side or the ground side sustains it, as would the feminine energy or the masculine energy spark, and the feminine sustains.
Right, and even when you read other texts like the Secret Teachings of Jesus and whatnot, it speaks about in there the principle of like the mother, the father, you know, and the androgynous one and whatnot. So I'm just saying, it's nothing beyond the possibilities in nature, you know. Definitely not. So.
And
yeah, for sure.
I don't know if there's any more callers. I just want to speak on one last thing. When he was saying, I forgot what it was saying earlier. What y'all was saying earlier about the Article 7 of the bylaws. The mother or wife must obey the husband or something like that.
Right.
I gotta go back and look at it. But just from my perspective, I don't think it was coming from a patriotic point of view. I just think Noble Drew Ali understood that the man, the father, was to get the house in order, was to keep the house in order. So,
and if it's a title wife, if it's a woman that bears the title of wife to a brother, then that's not anything you shouldn't expect that from anybody that you're not able to give that title to or accept that title. Like, you shouldn't even expect obedience if that's not your wife. So, like I said, man, I don't think it's even an issue to even, try to debate about or even trip over, because, every woman ain't your wife. So if that woman is your wife and she acknowledges that, then I don't even think that's something to even, trip over. That's just a reminder, like, in both aspects. Even if you consider that woman your wife, because brothers can't consider every woman their wife. So that's exclusive. That's something sacred, you know what I mean? And I just feel like it's a great reminder, but it wouldn't even be nothing to trip on if that title isn't even, if that title is really accepted and respected, that just comes automatically. If not, if there's just that in title only in the name, then yeah, they will have to have like courses on that. You know what I'm saying? But I just think that it's really not a big deal in any sense, and then vice versa. That's just how I see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it was kind of like.
I don't think you can attribute Noble Drew Ali's teachings to just one of the sexes. Like, that's not even real, because, like Kojo said earlier, chapter 20 to 25, it's all right there for everybody to have balance. You know what I'm saying? So,
right,
man.
And so, I just think like the order is like the woman sets the laws, and we are to enforce the laws. So, if the law is set, then we are to enforce the law. Then, of course, you're gonna want to obey, the orders, because the orders is given from her.
Exactly.
We just enforcing them. So if we enforcing them, then it's kind of like, okay, you set up a constitution or you set up some laws. Of course, you're going to obey the laws that you set up, because that's what's for the greater of the good.
Right.
I think so. It ain't no obeying your husband, it's obeying the laws, because he keeps the order of them laws.
That came from her.
And that came from her. You know what I'm saying? Because when you first come out the womb, your mama will give you the first law. Bet not do this, don't do this. This is how you eat, this is how you know what I'm saying? This is where you go to potty, this is what you do, And so, the father comes in, and when those laws aren't being enforced, and, we come in and enforce those laws. But, to keep the order of everything, we must obey the enforcer, I guess. You know what I'm saying? But that's just my perspective on it, man. I just wanted to touch on it. I ain't really just got on the call in a minute, but I'm here, I'm listening. Y'all keep doing what y'all doing. Highest honors to y'all, especially the prophet, and of course, all praise due to Allah.
Islam.
Without him, it would be nothing. So I give y'all my honor because y'all helped me get wise. You know what I'm saying, and really open my eyes to another world beyond me and the all. And that's what it's all about. You know what I'm saying? So keep doing what y'all doing, man. Peace to you. You know what I'm saying? And that's my piece on it.
Peace. It's a lot more.
Bro.
Hey, Ron.
So yeah, I mean we have one more caller, but it's very limited time. You know, I don't know if you want to say anything in closing, but I just want to salute everybody who tuned in. I think we'll have to revisit this conversation again.
For sure.
I do believe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we didn't even really scratch the surface.
You already
but
know.
I do think it's a topic to keep in mind. You know, that's the higher self. You know, even when we talk about ourselves, according to the lessons in chapter 3 of the Circle 7, it says the higher self is the mother of virtues and the harmonies of life. You know, so I mean, it's always a principle for the matriarch and all of the lessons. I just can't say and conclude that Noble Drew Ali taught strictly patriarch, and I don't believe that a woman would take. I mean, it happens. It does happen. You know what I mean? But a brother shouldn't have the title of husband if he won't be respected as one, and a brother shouldn't assume that a woman has the title of wife if he doesn't, you know, respect that relationship accordingly. So if that is the case and that is respected, I do believe that the argument of patriarch versus matriarch is a moot point as far as what he was teaching, because he was teaching unity of the human family.
Yeah.
And that was the example. So I can't just say he taught the patriarchy and that was it. I said this before, and I was saying that if anybody was to be considered a patriarchy, it would have to be Abraham, because he's considered, because patriarch just means father. You know, that's what the word itself means.
Right.
The European patriarch is way different than the concept Moors considered their brotherhood as, if you will, you know, the silent brotherhood and whatnot. And that being the case, I don't see them as the same. Like the Europeans' disdain for their patriarchs and their fathers is not the same for our founding fathers, because our founding fathers founded the first religious creed among every other thing. And that's not exclusive of the woman. She was in on that. So I just say that to say that duality exists in our culture, period. Sorry, I didn't mean to choke the floor, but if there's anything you want to say in closing more, please do. We have like 2 minutes left.
Islam, just honors to Allah, honors to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and all the Moors that were in attendance for tonight. Of course, we can't stop without giving honors to Mother for allowing us to do what we have to do on this platform to get the word out from our perspective. And of course, Mantis Views 29, Brother Mizrahi Mel, give thanks to you too for being part of this. This was another epic one, another one for the archives.
Yeah, for sure. And I still feel like we didn't get to go in like
we
all had or could have, but I think it's a part 2 is necessary. Next time I want to hear a little bit more from the sisters.
Yeah, definitely.
I will definitely reach out, call y'all out to join in on this discussion.
Right.
Because we can't speak for y'all, you know what I'm saying?
Straight.
But like y'all can speak for y'all, you know, and there's different types of classes of women, you know. Some women are Megan Thee Stallioned out right now. Other women are, you know, dignified, and I'm not saying she's not. I'm just saying there's different classes of women who will listen and hear this conversation different than others.
You probably got 20 seconds.
Different brothers will hear different.
You probably got 20 seconds. You know what they do.
Okay, yeah. So peace to everybody. Thank y'all for tuning in, and we'll definitely be back. Hopefully before the next Thursday of
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Islam Moors, peace and love to all. And to all a good night. You might as well do it. Why not? You might as well do it.
So it's gonna get ripped. Wow. What? I'm rocking. Who says we ain't in the building? Who says we ain't into building? We the Moorish master masons, architects for the children, repping Friday 13th like Jason, without the killing. But we promote life, oh, it's all about the feeling. And we invoke life, y'all, we them light beings. Though you might see him on the block getting his caution, might be talking to cops, giving them caution, occasionally wearing his vest when he's walking, see the turning heads, whispering gawking, but he's locked in and he's zoned out while we boxed in our own house.
Study the mystics, the Adams, the Magi, wisdom of the ancients can uncalcify us. Possible mission, free mental numbness, extract the substance with minds of darkness. Use the source, don't hear what's on before, as we know by being told man knows not. Many before the fall, souls got war. Placed in the devil's hands, rule in the seven lands. To dogma rituals, Negro spirituals, brainwash some criminal, keep thinking to a minimal. They still criminal, in a world digital so pitiful. Mental survival so critical, it's visible. Can you see past righteous wrong? Hashtag zombies with waves of cyberpunk. Smoking for cell phone, this mission so far. It's nothing for alarm, chips and forearm.
With brass and bass, such a beautiful serenade. Women feeding me breaks, I'm feeding the enemy's heritage. Whether this night is clear or great, great when you're effective in life you see. Speaking through when I hear today. Show you the future in the glass. And I was looking to these homes like hallucinatory depths. Sun walked the desert, been more of a since I found God. Look back, used to see his prince. Forget being a prince, I'm a G. OD, grown man, no jokey. Deny you don't know me. Don't make me tap into the old me. That's like a couple hundred years. Walk around town with a couple hundred peers and release the peace of her fears. The sun gon' shine, so what fears? This young brother here just trying to get his third eye clear.
Moors don't sleep, invest in your mind, body, and unleash. Real life rap, spitting over tracks, conscious thinking and living and then attack. This Moors don't sleep, invest in your mind, body, and unleash. Real life rap, spitting over tracks, conscious thinking and living and then attack.
So watch the moon sets, the sun takes its place, it spoons on blocks, inspired spots, filled spaces, peel back, rats, who got cases, fire stain the corridors with demo faces. Game changers, rule benders, and no pretenders. Style benders, channel my vibe through the vibe with optic lenses. Send a message to our veterans, soldiers up and get it in. We are the birds, we are merged, subliminal beings. Third eye seeing, still I participate unwilling.
They wanna break me, shake back, break me. Run with my name G, double O-M-G. S-O-N is crazy for a minute that you think you could take me for a fool like a native to his land. Being schooled by a foreign dude. Keep mistaking me, spiders on the roof in the dark tools. I've been saying you mistaken me. You better move or I'll mark it. Power is my tongue, your resistance to target. Revealing all lies and deceit on the market. Genocide, carry out and off, it's unlocked. Down bulldozer, baby to a lion, it's an exposure. Some big heads moving and it's getting closer to your downfall. Round up on your soldiers.
Little hungry, I was seeking a fortune, tired of misfortune. I just wanted a portion, everything that I never had, though I needed my portion. Blowing like porcelain, haters straddling porcelain. Dead broke, tired of being broke. How we acquire hope is the deep stairs of dope, just to keep us afloat. Might as deep as the boat, green is the lethal weapon. We one need to alone. When I speak up, I'm broke. Walk in the room with my own feeling like heavy smoke. Feel like when they let me roll. Under my Louis 50, the Chevy pump. Cause then we cops and take a ball, yeah, and choke.
The cost of living, higher profits and private printing. These little dirty sunny bodies just to pay tuition. These little niggas sunny niggas just to build addiction. It's like the state we never had the further intermission. I wanna free the world, but I'm one man. A couple ones like me, let me one plan. I wanna free the world, but I'm one man. A couple ones like me, one plan.